The Mayo Experience.
That Mayo Experience. That Mayo Experience. That Mayo Experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, presented by DraftKings. Championship weekend picks against the spread. Cust Corner. Super locks are over. Bye-bye, Tim. You lost. Geoff won. Coming off a 4-0 week. We're doing well here on the show. Much better than we did 2 weeks ago when everyone just had a real bad weekend overall. Had to flush that out of our systems, get back on the go. Hopefully, we can get it all back together on championship weekend and continue it forward into the Super Bowl. Will we have a show next week? We are planning on having a show next week. What it's about? I don't know. I guess we'll have to figure that out when the time comes. Geoff Fienberg, hopefully you are back in sync today, sir.
Well, I hope so. I hope so. It's a well-needed out of sync for me, but hopefully we're back at it.
It'd be nice. How you feeling?
I feel great. It seems like there's a lot of good vibes and laughter going around this place in the early going. So, yeah, I feel good. I always let Final Four. I think we have, 4 best teams in football. Can't really argue with it.
Well, we're going to jump into that in a second when we get to the hot topics. Do want to remind everyone to smash a like and sub to the channel. Please leave a rating and review. There's only so many of these football spread shows till September to come, although I think we're going to recap our win totals. Obviously, we'll have scheduling. The three of us will be popping up throughout the course of the off season with a lot of stuff as well. But, if you haven't left a review yet, please go do that. That really does help. Sub to Mayo Media Network as well. And if you're looking for DraftKings plays and props this weekend, I'm not doing a DraftKings show. It's only a 2-game slate. I don't know really how we can make a show out of that. But go to runthesims.com/Mayo, get your discount off the projections, completely customizable, and help put those numbers and lineups to good use for your DraftKings account or wherever it is that you play DFS or bet on props. The coin is here. Paul is here. Obviously, Geoff is here. And now to introduce the man who is a big believer in the Damar Hamlin is a clone conspiracy, Tim Undercust.
Tim Undercust.
That's not my name. That's a conspiracy?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
No, clone.
I thought we were going to start with the hottest take, which is that Geoff thinks this is the end of the NFL season this weekend. He calls it the end of football this weekend.
I agree with him. Like, I think you could even make the argument that last weekend is really the peak of football, and then it trickles downhill a little bit from there. Like, Super Bowl is like, whatever, it's one game. These are great games this weekend. The games last weekend were not great, but usually divisional round weekend is the peak of the year, for me at least, in my football enjoyment.
Defend yourself, Geoff, because I think it's a foolish take to say that the championship game of a sport is like, this is not golf, where the FedEx Cup doesn't mean anything to anybody, except for the PGA who wanted to let me know that John Rahm was number 1 in the FedEx Cup points. I can live my life now in a particular way knowing that fact. But beyond a few sports where they really don't care about their so-called playoffs, the idea that the Super Bowl, the biggest event in the world of sports, year in, year out, is somehow not real or an exhibition, I think is an outlandish take. That
also wasn't Geoff's take at all, that it's an exhibition. That's you just being a crazy person. Additionally,
that's the logical extension of saying that it's not real.
If you want to hear more from Cust the Crazy Person, highly recommend you tune in after the credits this week, by the way. Paul, we got that, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, good. You're going to want to see this one. Additionally, it's no different. I think it depends on where you want to go with everything, but I prefer the first 2 days of March Madness than the Final Four.
Sure. I prefer a week 6 slate of games to the conference championships and the Super Bowl. Don't get me wrong. I'm the same way. But I'm not out here saying that the NCAA championship game, the most watched basketball game in the world each year, somehow isn't real. It's not really a part of the term. Of course it is. I don't understand the take that football's just over after this weekend, other than someone just trying to make a hot take. Look, he can't. He's lost his composure. He's lost it.
This will make more
Vote
sense
Geoff.
after the show if you see the credits, but I don't know. I've totally lost my composure.
Vote Geoff.
Oh,
You can vote.
okay,
You can
Sword.
vote on the Custies. By the way, I do recommend that you watch the after the credits before you vote. But yes, Geoff, let's hear it.
So this is a long-standing take that I've had, and I think Tim is really choosing to paraphrase my take and use it to like his extreme angle. I don't really refer to it as an exhibition, but I have two football fans. For football fans, I have often referred to it as the cherry on top of what is the football season Sunday. It's just this nice little caveat that we're getting at the end, like the season, the ice cream, the scoops, the brownie, the fudge, the sauce. That's like hanging with your boys weeks 1 through 17, getting 7 games on needing to kick a game onto a laptop because you don't even have 9 TVs going. You've only got 7 or 8 or something, God forbid. That's football season. Like the Super Bowl, it's just a party. It's this end of football season celebration. If your favorite team is in the game, or you have some crazy future, like that's different. It becomes this whole other animal. But for all of us who love football, who watch it weekly, who celebrate it, it's like a party for the end. Like, it's a game where I don't know, like this, I don't think I'm out of bounds to say, like, you watch the Super Bowl with people you would probably never watch, like, the other football games with. It's like your buddies and all their wives are coming, and even in the day got like activities for the kids now. Like Super Bowl is just its own thing. It's football season, but it's the cherry on top of football season. Now one day I hope I'm lucky enough where it's way more than a cherry to me, but yeah, this is what it is. Party, you get good food. You eat differently than you'd eat in week 6, probably also. Like, it's just, it's a party. And by no means an exhibition, more of a celebration of the football season.
I tend to agree with you. My favorite weekend is last weekend. I do love the conference championship. I would say that the best week of football is either this week or last week. Because it's definitely not the Super Bowl. Usually by the time the Super Bowl comes on, like 90% of the people that we watch the game with are so drunk they fall asleep during the game.
Yeah, well, I don't know if it's that high a percentage, but yes. I'm not out here saying I think the Super Bowl is the best week of the NFL. It's not. I think week 18 is the best week.
Oh my God.
Probably of all the weeks. That's so much fun because there's so much high drama. You're in, you're out. There are like knockout games, the games that were relevant. You don't know what's going on in those games. You can't predict them. Crazy things happen in that week. Week 18. Week 1 and week 18 are my 2 favorite weeks of the NFL season because you know the least about what you're going to see that week. So those 2 are my favorite weeks, and I like the wild card round better than the divisional round because again I like to see the big upsets. I like to see anyway. Those are the teams that I cheer for, which are terrible. That's where we get to play. Is the first round if we ever get there. So I have a soft spot for the wild card round. I don't know. That's the way I feel about it. But I think Geoff's take about denigrating the Super Bowl is a little hot. That's all.
I don't recall him saying that. Do you hear voices? Do you hear Geoff talk and then a voice in your head is like a translator and tells you something that's like slightly different and twists his words into a way that you want to hear it?
No, he just, when you say it's the end of football season, the corollary to that is that what comes after football season isn't really football. That is the necessary conclusion you have to draw from that sentence.
You're a really strange guy, aren't you?
I'm not the one out here saying the Super Bowl is not real football.
I'm not saying it's not real football, but it's a neutral.
Well, then don't say the season's over.
it proverbial.
Just like you used to say the PGA wasn't a real major championship, you'll come around on this too.
I got that one. Proverbial. I don't know why I'm stuck on this.
It's no different than saying,
to
use your golf example, it's like saying that everything that happens after the Open Championship is basically irrelevant, which is true.
Yeah, but I kind of feel like golf season is more or less over after the Open Championship.
But it's not. There's still like another 8 tournaments left.
Yeah, but I don't care who wins the Deutsche Bank. I don't care who wins the Tour Championship.
You probably shouldn't really worry about who wins the Deutsche Bank since that hasn't been a tournament in 5 years.
Or whatever. Like, I don't really care who wins those tournaments.
Well, I think that's what I think that's what you're getting at. Now is time, really, for the fans of the teams that are left. We have the whole rest of the season where all of us, whether we are, we have no teams, whether we're just gambling, whatever it may be, because there's so much to bet on. Like, even betting this weekend isn't the most fun. You know what you're going to see a lot of this weekend, Geoff? People betting first touchdowns and anytime touchdown scores, and the books are going to get all their money back.
Yeah, and that sort of happens a lot in the starting with the playoffs, where you have the series of stand-alone football games. But I don't know what Tim is arguing with me for. Like,
I think the football season goes through to the Super Bowl. We just disagree on that. I think it's just as much a part of the season.
No, of course it's part of the season, but this is just the celebration of the season at the Super Bowl.
Yeah. I completely see. I completely get what Geoff's saying here. You're just crazy. So,
like, when all the, like, I don't even mean this as an insult. Like, I don't care, but like, when all of, like, for lack of a better way of putting it, when all the wives are at the party for the football game, like, yeah, football season's kind of over. It's over.
To recap last week, as I mentioned, 4-0 ATS. That's always a fun one. Geoff 2-2, Cust 1-3. The coin went 3-1. However, Geoff, you won the Super Lock competition. You are the victor. Congratulations to you. You end the year 14-6 on your Super Locks, with the Eagles beating Tim's Super Lock of the Giants plus 8.5.
Congratulations, Jeffrey. That's well earned.
Yeah, it was finally time for the Giants to find their maker, but an incredible season for them. Yeah, I don't know whether I was thinking, is it 14-6, or are we both just 13-5? And I sort of like a golf playoff, like I have an asterisk and my name just sits on top of Tim for the rights to the Lucille Ball Trophy.
I think that's right. I think it's like a golf playoff, where if you took, at the Masters, if you both took 10s on the first hole, it doesn't change your score. You just move on to the next one, and whoever wins just gets the star next to them. Yeah, that's the way I look at it.
Well, that's fine. You can look at it any way you want. I'm looking at the sheet that I make as the keeper of the list, and it just says 14-6, winner, Geoff. Cust, 13-7, loser, like me next to it.
Oh, Geoff earned it. I congratulate him, and I shake him warmly by the hand. He earned that win.
Do you have a free money play this week? Because there's something fun brewing with the free money.
I mean, I do.
Okay.
That's
good. Now, you don't need to say what it is.
Okay.
We can save that for the end. I was just wondering if you had one. There usually becomes a point in the season where you don't have one anymore, because your 6-17 record is the best that you've ever done. However, with another loss last week, thanks to the Giants, you're now one game away from being 100 under 500. 100 under 500.
That's true, but we made money this year for people. So, I don't feel too bad about it.
Yeah, but historically, you have not.
No, I've actually been spending a lot of my time today looking at the Academy Awards odds that came out.
Really? How many of the movies have you seen?
1, 2.
Which two were those?
Elvis and Top Gun Maverick.
Oh, how was Elvis?
Not good. Although people rave about the performance that, what's his name, Butler put on. I wasn't sold.
Okay.
He wasn't Elvis to me.
Interesting stuff. So, yeah, let's see. Let's go to the checklist of hot stuff. So you don't believe Damar Hamlin is a clone and that he actually died and they replaced him, Tim? Are you sure?
That is such an outlandish take. I can't believe that people are sincerely stating that.
Tim, when they showed him at the stadium on Sunday, you couldn't see his face. Why?
Because it was a blizzard.
No, why, Tim? Yeah, that's what they want you to think, okay?
Who's they? Who benefits from this?
They are saying that, Tim. I can't believe you're such a sheep and you believe that.
I mean, I spend a lot of time on Twitter, and I can't believe I didn't come across this nugget of insanity.
I noticed Geoff hasn't said anything. He's probably a true believer, aren't you, Geoff?
Yeah, no, I have it. Someone sent me one of the tweets today. No oxygen tank, no interview, no clear visual of Damar Hamlin's face. Weird.
Just asking questions.
All right.
God.
Let's talk about the
God,
Bills,
people.
though. I want to talk about Josh Allen. Do you
Sure.
feel like Josh Allen, because I've seen basically every sort of argument starts up with people aren't criticizing Josh Allen enough. Here's why, da-da-da-da-da. But now, like, everyone's saying that. Has it gone too far with the Josh Allen criticism here, Geoff?
In my opinion, it has, but I also come from the camp of being an apologist for quarterbacks who haven't won the big one and is 26 years old and seems hyper talented. He is not without blame. And it's not like in defense of the people saying he deserves responsibility. You know, it's not like the Bengals, got into a boat race or something and they couldn't score, but he deserves responsibility. I just don't understand why people take a game and make it like it's career defining. Like last year's AFC Championship where he was outstanding, this week's game, and somehow those, define what a 26-year-old's career is going to be. That's so weird to me.
It does feel like he has slipped on the pantheon we do on our off-season quarterbacks that you would like to have. It does feel like Burrow is firmly ahead of him at this point, Tim.
Yeah, I mean, some of us had him there last year and were screamed at for not having Josh Allen at 2 or something.
No, you were screamed at for having Lamar over Josh Allen.
I still think a healthy Josh Allen and a healthy Lamar. I think I take a healthy Lamar, and I'm not the only one to think that.
We ran that poll and no one agreed with you.
Well, we were talking about it in our group thread the other day, and one of our friends came out squarely with me on that.
Was it one of our competent friends or one of our incompetent friends?
One of our competent friends.
Really?
But he loves Lamar, to be fair.
Oh, already doesn't count. He does. He's a Dolphins fan who bets on the Ravens every week and owns a Lamar jersey.
Will he do that when Lamar is in Gotham City?
Well, I don't know. Maybe it's going to be Aaron Rodgers.
Did
Geoff leave, by the way? Is he just no longer
here?
here?
Geoff went to go hunting for treasure.
Okay. So, Josh Allen. How much do you think this
Josh Allen deserves a lot of criticism, to be fair.
Okay. I would agree with you.
It doesn't have to be forever and ever, but like this week, should people be piling on him? Yes, they should. He deserves it. Because people sing his praises to high heaven when he plays well. So he deserves to be criticized for what has been 2 consecutive weeks of very poor performance, in my opinion, compared to what people have him at a baseline of.
I think there's legitimate criticism about him this year, where I thought that last year's was just kind of unfounded, where their defense gave up points with like 11 seconds left to go, and all they did was just post points drive after drive. What was he supposed to do last year? This year, it was all on him. And I think the elbow injury was a real concern, Geoff, but he's playing, so it's on him.
100%. He did not play well enough to win. The Bills don't deserve to win. He deserves heat for it. I get it. Like the 2 biggest games of his career, he is yet to win. He's yet to win a road playoff game. Like it's not like I'm ignoring all these factors. I don't know it, but in hindsight, it almost feels like the Bills asked him to do so much all year, and they finally cracked. And maybe you should say, when you're special and we consider you, when you're being debated as good as Patrick Mahomes, or for 80% of the season, we're called the MVP pretty much going back to the spring. Like, you have to find a way to elevate and be great when your team is stuck in mud. And I get to that, I guess he's responsible for not lifting them up.
Or people call you Mr. January when you don't even have you barely win games in January.
I've never heard that.
Yes, this was all over the media last week. People calling Josh Allen Mr. January. Like Reggie Jackson was Mr. October because he hit multiple home runs in one World Series. What did Josh Allen do to be deserving the moniker Mr. January?
I feel like that's like an isolated Reddit.
Like he barely got past Skylar Thompson and didn't deserve to. And then
Paul's plugging in his mic, Tim.
And as Geoff and I chatted about that was the most shocking performance I have seen in a playoff game in the last 5 years, 7 years, 10 years. I couldn't believe it. No show like that.
I can't recall like a 6-point underdog dominating a playoff game like that. Like almost from the first kickoff they dominated first downs, and they never stopped dominating first downs on both sides of the football for 4 quarters. It was like almost like a snake just suffocating the life out of the Bills for 4 lifeless quarters. But I don't know. I'll go back. I'll rank. So now Josh Allen, I guess, is just behind Burrow on QB ranks. He's still the freaking man. Like I don't really.
I mean, he's good, but like, let's look. If you look at the quarterbacks in the AFC, would I rather have Lawrence right now or him? I'd rather have Lawrence. Would I rather have your guy or him? I'd rather have your guy. Would I rather have Burrow? I'd rather have Burrow. Would I rather have Mahomes? So there, he's at best. At best, he would be 5th in the AFC.
So
would I rather
time.
have like, in the NFC, it's slimmer pickings, but definitely would rather have Rodgers for sure. Rather have Lamar. Like all of a sudden, like Josh Allen's like 7th or 8th in my opinion. And even if you think that I'm being a little harsh, like 5th or 6th is still probably, as good as it gets. So this whole nonsensicalness about him being the 2nd best quarterback in football has to go back. Maybe he will succeed. Maybe this is Peyton Manning all over again, and that later in his career he'll thrive and win games, and people won't even remember that he was criticized. But until he starts to win actual important games, like, I'm sorry, like, he didn't run in that game. That was the perfect game for Josh Allen to run a ton. He should have had a ton of carries in that game. Buffalo just no-showed from top to bottom. If I were a Bills fan, I would be extraordinarily distressed. Not that I lost, but in the manner in which I lost and how I lost at home, I would be panicked if I were a Bills fan.
Geoff, to go back to your point of an underdog dominating a game like that, there's 2 that stick out in my mind, and one of them I'm not even sure if they were actual underdogs or not. I know they were on the road in the playoffs, and it's weird just these 2 games in particular stand out. I'm sure there are 10 more that I'm just absolutely glossing over and forgetting, especially from the past few years. But one was the Ray Rice goes nuts in New England game, and they absolutely stomp the Patriots. I think that was in 2009 playoffs?
Yeah, 2010 playoffs, 2009 season.
Yeah, and then the 2008 season, the 2009 playoffs, when Arizona played Carolina. And it was like, oh, Carolina, they're going to the Super Bowl again. And just Kurt Warner went in and demolished them in Carolina.
Well, because Delhomme threw 5 interceptions.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm yeah.
But those are
I
the
was
2.
thinking more like Denver in the Super Bowl against Seattle was the big no-show that I remember. They lost that game 43-8 with the greatest statistical offense anyone had ever seen, and they no-showed. And Carolina in the Super Bowl against Denver no-showed as well. But those were Super Bowls.
Those were Super
like
Bowls,
playoff games.
But the Carolina-Denver, what was the Carolina-Denver spread, Geoff? It was like 2.
Denver.
Wasn't it?
No, it was Carolina by 6, Carolina by 7.
No.
I'm looking up. Yes, it was.
No, it
3,
wasn't.
3.5. No, 3, 2.5, 3.5 tops.
I'm going
for
to
sure.
Wikipedia right now because they capture the historical spreads for the Super Bowl. Go ahead. I'm going to effort this right now. I'm pretty sure it was 7.
7?
It's probably 7 on your pro lines, pal.
I'll pull it up. I'll see what Wikipedia says, and then if I'm wrong, I'll correct myself. It was. Spread was, where is it on the front page here? Come on now. Panthers by 5.5.
Panthers opened as a 3.5 point favorite.
Panthers 5.5 at kickoff. That was the official final. So they were a 5.5 point underdog.
Well, they were.
And Denver
in
was.
fairness, when you bet the game, it was 3. Geoff, it was 3.5 when we bet it. When we bet the Panthers.
I
No.
lost whether it's 3.5, 5.5. I lost all my Hideki winnings.
That's true.
That
yeah,
day.
Tim, most people don't wait till a
Game
minute.
literally opened at 5.5.
I'm looking at it right now.
Okay,
Point spread. The
Westgate
Panthers. The
Sportsbook
Panthers opened
as
at
5.5 point favorites. I'm looking at the actual ESPN website. Opened as 5.5 point favorites at the Westgate book.
So you're using one book.
Yes. Well, I'm just saying this is if you click on the link, that's the first paragraph that says that.
All right. Well, I'm looking at it
yeah.
right now. So at multiple books, it opened at 3.5.
If you took away Brady and honestly Nick Foles because he's irrelevant, how many active quarterbacks have a Super Bowl? Mahomes, Rodgers, Wilson. Am I forgetting anyone?
Stafford.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Although, is he
Yeah,
active or
Stafford.
not?
Yeah, I'll call him for the moment. I'm expecting him to still be playing, but I don't. Now Rodgers and a lot of guys get criticized for only winning
One.
one Super Bowl, which in some cases, like I could make an argument for someone that would show why Aaron Rodgers didn't live up to something by only going to one Super Bowl, but I don't know. Now, just this new cycle, and maybe I'm an apologist for
it's really hard to win. That should be acknowledged. It's really hard to win.
And maybe I'm an apologist for Allen because, again, I come from this world of quarterbacks that don't win anything or talented that I like to, still show respect to. And there was a lot, like tweets with thousands of likes going around on Sunday night. Those like, Josh Allen, the next Phillip Rivers, same number, same guy. Okay, listen, I understand that's supposed to be an insult at Phillip Rivers, but to me, like, Josh Allen's like all that talent, and I think Josh Allen is so talented. I think Phillip Rivers is good, obviously not a champion. So, people like post that as an insult. I'm like, okay, that's.
Hold on, though. I think that's not just about that. I think it's about the fact that Burrow and Mahomes are like the Brady.
Okay, so he's
the man. Yes, that's
okay.
what I think the analysis is, that Allen is the third wheel in the way that Phillip ended up being the third wheel.
And Phillip beat Indy a lot and could never beat Indy and New England back to back. And I guess the thing is, to win the AFC now, you probably have to beat Burrow and Mahomes back to back. I hope, like probably Bills fans do, I hope the Chargers can just be like Andy Murray and get one, and get out of here. Find a way maybe. But yeah, I'm curious, I know Paul, I think, has been trying to talk and give his debrief. It's just a lifeless performance, and that sucks. Like everyone's so fired up, and the game it didn't feel over in the first quarter, but in hindsight, you're like, holy shit, that game was over. After that first touchdown and the Bills go like back-to-back 3-and-outs or something to start, they never got their footing at all.
I mean, they never got their footing the entire game on that field. And when we get to the breakdown of Kansas City and Cincinnati, I think that's going to be a very overlooked part about how Cincinnati succeeded last week. And I was talking to Ross Tucker about it as well, that snow is the best friend of offensive linemen, especially offensive linemen who aren't up to snuff, because the defensive line doesn't have the same they don't have the same speed, they don't have the same leverage on you. You can shift them around, get them off balance, that it didn't really make up for a lot of stuff and kind of piece it together that it doesn't look as bad as it was. You even saw Burrow take these like little mini steps and like little jump throws to wide open guys in the middle of the field, just buying a little bit of time. And Allen just looked like he was trying to run his normal offense on a normal day, which just wasn't working. But Paul, you're the Bills fan here. I don't think you're probably necessarily like the demo of Bills Reddit, which I know that Tim was all over in reading, which I'm sure is a very dark place at the moment. But how are you feeling about the season and Josh Allen? You ready to kick Josh Allen to the curb or what?
I mean, absolutely not. It was a horrible game. We played pretty bad the second half of the season in general. Like ever since like the Vikings game, we're just scraping by. There was a couple of blowout wins later in the season against bad teams, but that's what you're supposed to do. The only thing I actually wanted to say is that it's a total fabrication that people are out there calling Josh Allen Mr. January. Like, I want Tim to actually provide proof of that. That did not happen. Like, nobody's going to believe anything you say when you just come on here and just spread misinformation and lies like that.
I was tweeting about it.
That's not a thing that happens.
During the Dolphins game.
No way.
I didn't bring it up out of nowhere.
I see what happened here. It was Tony Romo called Josh Allen Mr. January. That's what happened. So it was just Tony Romo saying it.
What an outrageous claim to call him Mr. January.
Well, he's always talking.
As many games as he's won.
These guys, listen, compared to Tony Romo, he is Mr. January.
It's just like, come on, like, honest to heavens. Like, Joe Burrow was 1,000 times more Mr. January than Josh Allen.
Well, Joe Burrow needs to be not only Mr. January, he needs to be Mr. February here soon.
Well, true. If he loses 2 Super Bowls in a row, and odds are he's going to be in the Super Bowl, we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Joe Burrow's a problem. Joe Burrow is a problem.
He's the coolest guy in the league.
In a very good way for Bengals fans. But yes. And this is probably so unfair. And we talk about like putting expectations. Like part of the Allen critique is, and as a Charger fan, like I suffer it a lot with Herbert in the sense that people like I'm a Chargers fan. I hope Justin Herbert is amazing. But all this talk, like like they take the stats as he's the greatest thing ever. And then you watch Josh Allen, it's like the greatest thing ever. It's like we're just trying to anoint people who haven't accomplished anything. Well, just winning one Super Bowl puts you in this like super rarefied air. I get how people like want to shit on Allen and Herbert based on, talking heads saying they're the greatest quarterbacks ever, but they haven't won a single thing. Joe Burrow, this is probably really unfair, and it's its own hyperbole in its own way and its own expectational thing, but it's almost like he's better than Tom Brady at a younger age.
Yeah, because Brady had two stretches, right? He really wasn't the dominant player in those first three Super Bowl
That's sort of what I mean. He was still the sixth round pick, trying to get his footing, doing great comebacks and 2-minute drills, and not to take anything away. Joe Burrow feels like he's got that Tom Brady elements, that winner, that je ne sais quoi of a Jeter, except he's a first overall pick talent. Like, oh my God, how fucked are we in the AFC with him and Mahomes? And I'm dead. I should stop caring.
Well,
period, forever.
That's a pretty interesting situation to get into right now, because I look at some of the teams that are, I don't want to say close, but close enough, I suppose. Someone like the Jets, for example. Tim, you have the Jets, the Patriots. I mean, I don't know whether the Colts or Titans are going to continue to be good or not. We'll see on that front. The Titans just announced their new GM. You have the Raiders. I'm just talking about teams without a quarterback right now. Like, if you're the Raiders and you have the chance to get Rodgers or Brady, is it even worth it to spend all that money? Like, how good can they really make you in the AFC at this point?
7 teams make the playoffs, and we've seen mediocre teams get in. And not to say we should all be crazy New York Giant fans and think just because you're a 6 or 7 seed, you're destined to win a Super Bowl, even when you win wild card weekend or something. But I don't know. It still seems like playoff spots are available, and a lot of these owners are just desperate. Like, a lot of the words around the rumors out of the Jets that I'm sure Tim is seeing is like Woody Johnson. They're now using the word desperate in the same way they'd use it around like Stephen Ross, like desperate. Desperate, will give up anything to figure out QB1 and would love a high profile situation.
See, I actually think the Jets are the only team in the AFC who should be primed to do this, unless Baltimore somehow gets rid of Lamar and brings someone else in. But we have no idea how that situation is going to go down. I do think either a veteran or high-end quarterback for the Jets, with the way they're constructed, if they can keep their guys on defense, which, Tim, I mean, we're really going to cut Carl Lawson and CJ Mosley, trade Sauce Gardner to go get a quarterback. Like, that instantly makes them not good anymore, doesn't it?
I mean, I suppose it depends which quarterback you get, but I mean, it also depends who. I think they would. The only big player they'd have to get rid of for like Rodgers, I think, would be Carl Lawson, which would be awful. I wouldn't like that. But what do you mean? This team is loaded with talent, and so you have an opportunity to go get a top tier QB and compete for a couple of years, just like the Buccaneers did. And it worked for Tampa. They had the playoffs 3 years in a row, and they won a Super Bowl. They're going to pay for it, in the years to come. But what a 3-year run. When you don't draft well, you are forced to have to spend top dollar to rent an opportunity to be in that. And that is where the Jets are going to have to be at the quarterback position. If they bring in a star QB, as star as they can get, they can compete with any of them. But they will always be underdogs against the Chiefs or the Bengals because those teams have Burrow and Mahomes. But it's the NFL. People get hurt all the time. If you have a healthy season and you play well, I mean, you can do what the Rams did. You can do what the Cardinals did. The Jets would be a team that could compete in that way. It's football. People go worst to first all the time, and the playoffs are a one-game elimination. So if look at San Francisco. They don't have a quarterback at all. They didn't have one kind of when they went to the Super Bowl 3 years ago. And like the Niners have proven that you don't have to have the best quarterback in order to succeed if you have everything else right. So you just have to have someone who's not actively hurting you. So, there's still hope if you build a good roster that you can put up a good fight in the playoffs.
I happen to think that's more of an NFC only situation at this point versus an AFC situation with the 5 quarterbacks that we just listed off, not including Lamar or Deshaun,
yes,
or who could potentially be on the up and up. The reason that I say the Jets and the Ravens, not knowing their quarterback situations going into next year, Geoff, is that they both have legit defenses, where the Raiders don't. As you put Brady on the Raiders, great, they're going to lose every game 40 40-32.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a totally fair thing to put on the Raiders, and I get it that the Jets and the Ravens would bring that defense and could succeed with median QB play, let alone if they had high-end QB play. All those teams in the AFC that you think you have to go chase down with quarterbacks, those are also homegrown, but all those teams also drafted those
Yes.
quarterbacks. But we have seen success with the veteran quarterbacks, and I don't know, part of me thinks like Tom Brady is all these quarterbacks are making so much money, so to hang around and make that money makes a lot of sense. But I feel like there's a generation of older quarterbacks now that feel an obligation to play longer because they see Brady do it. And also on that note, Matt Ryan, excellent on in the studio this week. And I don't watch that stuff very often at all, but he was smart and he was on point. I really enjoyed Matt Ryan. I think he'd be great in television if that's something he chooses to do.
That surprises me. I mean, I watched a pregame show or the halftime show, whatever the Fox one was that had Gronk on it, because I was just intrigued to see what Gronk was going on. Apparently, Terry Bradshaw is still on that show. I watched his reality show, and he was unhinged on that. I can't believe they put him on live TV anymore. But here we are. He's like one of 98 people in a studio show. But
yeah, but he and Howie and Jimmy have like tenure. They're never going away if they don't want to.
Eventually, someone
They're
comes
like
in with sweeping changes.
Maybe, but they're like the guys on the ESPN college football pregame show, like Lee Caruso, who's just going to be there because he's been there for forever, and you're just not going to get rid of him.
What's his name?
Lee Corso.
He's like that Caruso, like the
like David Caruso?
CSI cop.
Yes, I realized I had misspoke. Yeah, Lee Corso.
I just think that when we talk about the veteran quarterbacks moving, we've seen that work in the NFC far more than we've seen it work in the AFC, to the point where Geoff said that everyone's drafting these quarterbacks. Like, if I'm one of these fringe teams in the AFC, I am just rolling the dice at quarterback and seeing if it hits, except for if I'm the Ravens or if I'm the Jets. Do you have your updated power rankings of who you want to be on the Jets and what you have to give up, Tim? Because it sounds like 2 first-round picks for Aaron Rodgers, which probably max you're getting 2 years of at quarterback.
Yeah.
Or you trade like 3 first-round picks and maybe something else to get Lamar and re-sign him to a huge deal. Which of those situations sounds better to you?
I still prefer the Lamar situation because he's still super young, and there's more risk involved, but he's super young, and I think he's just brings such an electricity to the quarterback position. Rodgers is phenomenal, don't get me wrong, but he plays quarterback the way that all these other star QBs basically play quarterback. But Lamar doesn't. He forces you to have to play very differently and rethink how you're going to attack him week after week, which brings, when it comes to the playoffs, brings a real significant advantage when you can show something every week that other teams can't. But, you actually have to be in the playoffs and healthy in the playoffs, and that's not a guarantee. So I still want Lamar most. If it's Rodgers, fine, that's great. I don't have super high expectations how this will go. Maybe we'll win 9 games next year. That would be a nice little step with him getting the playoffs. I don't know.
Hold on a second. You've said you were making the playoffs between Halloween and Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I've changed my mind.
That was with Zach Wilson, too.
I was overexcited, and that's foolish. The AFC is just too competitive. It's not right to do that. If we get into the playoffs as a 6 or 7 seed, that alone would be fine. Like, I'll live with that.
Yeah. So clinching in that ever exciting Week 18 game would be like a good thing, right?
I mean, the best I could hope for is that Buffalo's poor playoff performance it just shakes them for next year. And this team, which seems to have a little bit of infighting, and as Paul will say, he's poorly coached. He was calling for this coach's head in like Week 10, so Paul doesn't like the coach. Maybe Buffalo implodes next season, and the Jets are just there to pick up the pieces with a Dolphins team who probably is rudderless without a quarterback really you can trust, and the Patriots who are bad.
Can the Jets afford to play the Aaron Rodgers game? And I don't mean can they make the cap room, can they give the picks? I'm certain they could finagle things to make all of that work. I mean, the numbers show that it works best, that if the Packers would probably have to do this later in the offseason, so you would miss out potentially on your plan B options. And a draft situation, and then you end up being that
you beat Denver
girl waiting for Rodgers. Will he?
I don't know.
take
Rodgers
that
keeps
in?
saying he's going to make a decision pretty soon. Like he's not going to leave the Packers hanging because the Packers can't afford to wait.
well,
But
look,
the date of the transaction can't be soon, based on
no,
how.
but you can have things all wrapped up in principle earlier than that. If
And
he
Aaron
decides
Rodgers
in a
would
couple
love
weeks.
at the last minute to like make you a jilted bride at the altar. Like that's just in his. Anyhow,
Yeah, well, whatever. It's worth the risk.
I
guess.
would love, like, football fan in me, page 6, reader in me, the vagueness of Aaron Rodgers' comments in over 2 years versus the New York media would be amazing.
Well,
it would be incredible.
would you get more pleasure out of Aaron Rodgers' vagueness with the media or Tom Brady being very direct to Jim Gray?
I don't like Jim Gray to begin with. I never liked Jim Gray after he, attacked Pete Rose at that All-Star game about gambling on sports. I always thought that was a low blow, and I never particularly cared for it.
Well, Brady told him to shut the fuck up, move on, basically.
Well, it's not a Jim Gray's business.
I mean, it's a paid spot.
None of his business with Brady. Like Brady was going to come on to Jim Gray's show and break that news. Like I don't know who he thinks he is.
No, but Jim Gray is.
So
like,
then don't ask the question that insults everyone's intelligence by asking a question that cannot be answered.
Listen, I like that Brady didn't give an answer of like pandering or any of that. It was just like, fuck off. I'm not ready to decide.
He's clearly not. It's the right answer. It's an honest answer. Good for him. That's the right answer to give.
But does anyone actually think he's not playing football next year?
Well, as you said so beautifully last week, he didn't choose to sleep in a race car bed for 4 months of football.
He didn't blow. No, I said like he didn't like just sort of blow up the family dynamic for 3 more months of football. Like there's no way he did that for 3 months.
No, I agree with you. I also think that Brady's going to find there's a lot fewer seekers for him than he might want.
Totally disagree.
We'll
Mark
see.
Well,
That's one team. Okay, that's one team. But I'm not so sure there'll be a huge amount of people lining up cap in hand for to pay a huge amount of money to Brady and deal with him.
But I know it's not a long-term commitment. It's a 1 year big the going rate. An average quarterback is now $40 million. It's almost like just you're gonna have to give Herbert a ton of money. Just pay it now when it's 45 instead of the floor when it's 55.
Now, if I was Herbert, I would say, nope, we'll wait. We'll play this out. I want as much money as possible from this.
Well, okay, I've had this thought because Joe Burrow is obviously going to be the standard bearer now. And for all of Lamar Jackson's efforts, as I kind of alluded to last week, it does feel like this Joe Burrow contract will then dictate the future of how guaranteed quarterback money works for these quarterbacks. Is the Watson thing an outlier, or, as everyone is trying to say it will be on the Lamar Jackson side? You assume the Bengals are going to go to that camp. But maybe Joe Burrow demands guaranteed money. Like, I'm not playing in a division where just Sean Watson makes 100 more guaranteed $1 million than me.
What about if we apply this to the NFC and talk about Daniel Jones? Because it seemed like after beating Minnesota again, everyone was all in on old Danny Dimes and paying him all the money. It now seems, after watching what happened against the Eagles, that maybe this is a team that went 3-6-1 down the stretch and still got into the playoffs, and maybe they're not so good.
I don't buy that.
Saquon has already turned down the offer that they have made to him. I don't think this front office is stupid. Like, I don't hate the idea of re-signing Daniel Jones, but I think it needs to come at like a team discount. It needs to be a reasonable contract. He can't be one of these $40 million a year quarterbacks. You're better off just playing someone else.
It has to be performance bonus heavy.
No one does that, though. No one does that. That's not
actually, people do that. That is precisely what the Dolphins did with Tannehill.
The Dolphins did with Tannehill?
Yeah, and then they they signed him to that big deal with a lot of performance bonuses, but also with a trap door to get out of it. And
Tannehill
because he
already
didn't
torn
perform,
his ACL, and Tannehill was never good. Like, I get what you're saying. The question is, though, for that like team-friendly deal, then that means it has to be multi-years, Pat. The Giants, in my guessing, are probably just more prepared to eat the 1 year franchise tag situation and see if he can make more improvements under Dable instead of making a 3 year, commitment to Daniel Jones, which I don't even think there's any quarterback that's taking I'm going to help the team out. I mean, if you're signing a super long-term deal and you're going to be the face of the franchise, you want to leave some room for the team to be good around you, sort of like Mahomes did, that's one thing. But I don't think the Daniel Jones contract comes with any sort of like Giants discount if it's multi-years.
No, but I'm saying, like,
How-
what do you think is a better deal for the Giants? To franchise Daniel Jones, and that means he gets what, like $48 million or something insane for this 1 year, or to sign him 2 years, $50 million, all guaranteed?
I don't mind
Wouldn't
either.
he play chicken on that and say, I'll go to the market and like he'll make it franchise tag him probably.
Yeah, I think that's what I would do if I were Jones. So I think you have to franchise tag me. You're not going to let me walk out the door. That's not an option. So either you pay me $48 million this year, or you pay me what I ask in a contract.
Well, if you don't get the deal with Barkley done and it comes down to it, would you rather franchise Barkley for far less money and get the 1 year out of him, or get Daniel Jones? Because you can go sign, like, realistically, if you're the Giants and you're Daboll as the head coach, what if you could get Jimmy G or Derek Carr or one of these guys, Geno Smith, whoever it might be, to be your quarterback? Like, are they worse than Daniel Jones? I would argue that some are better.
I don't know. If I were Daboll and I had this guy every single week and I had a better read on it, I can answer the question more fairly. I don't know what he thinks about him. If he thinks he's a good quarterback, you don't let him walk. Doesn't matter. Kind of doesn't matter at what price. Yeah, quarterbacks are such a valuable commodity. You just live with it.
Where would you go,
Like,
Geoff?
it's not. When was the last time a quarterback was like outrageously overpaid and it crippled a team? Baltimore, maybe, but like they won a Super Bowl. So what?
They did, and they paid Flacco all that money after the Super Bowl. And
But that's fine, because at least he won you a Super Bowl and you paid him that money for that. Other than that, like, has it really not worked out for a team to pay a bunch of money to a quarterback? And
Russell Wilson.
draining the thing.
how about some guy who's Mr. Unlimited?
Well, yeah, but we're only 1 year into that.
I don't want to say crippled the team because there was also a Super Bowl there after way before, but it does seem like the Saints are still in some levels of like cap hell, but I'm sure that's like a consortium of bad contracts, not just.
I feel like they've been in cap hell for 9 straight years, and it just doesn't make a difference.
Yeah, you're probably.
I mean, the Rams just kept signing people day after day last year when they had no cap space, so it doesn't. The cap's not real.
I'm not worried about the salary cap when it pertains to signing these guys. What I'm worried about is, I think the more direct question that I want to ask is it better to have Daniel Jones for 1 year and then make your decision, or lock him up to multiple years where you're now stuck with him as your quarterback? And you don't want to be stuck with a bad quarterback. At least if he sucks this year, it sucks for your cap. It sucks that you paid all the money, but hey, we can go draft someone. We can go sign someone else.
That was this year. They made the evaluation. That's what this year was. He played well. He wins. That was what this year was.
They didn't pick up the 5th-year option, and they rolled the dice that if he plays well and they want to continue a relationship in a wait and see, then they will be forced to probably tag him, because I don't know. Yeah, I don't know that there's a multi-year agreement there that would be probably in the Giants' best interests.
Would you want him?
Yeah, and you can't let him walk, so I think you're obliged to tag him, worst case scenario.
How hot is the market if you let him walk? It's probably pretty hot.
Scorching hot.
For Daniel Jones? Who is signing Daniel? Honestly.
He will be paid ridiculous
By
amounts
who?
of money.
Give me the team.
I don't know. The Raiders, the Panthers, there are 8, 9 teams that need quarterbacks. The market will be ridiculous. The Saints, you name it. There are teams that are quarterback starving. Jones would be the best thing that could happen to Daniel Jones is to be let on the market. He'll get a huge amount of money. Huge.
So where were you in your rankings here? Were we still on Rodgers?
Yeah. We're Rodgers and Lamar. What if they could sign Daniel Jones? The Jets, Tim. See, that's the fucking answer right there.
I mean,
who
had
cares?
we had Daniel Jones this year, would we made the playoffs? Yes.
Are you sure? Because you don't have Daboll running your offense. You know that, right? You might have nasty Nate Hackett running your offense.
Who was fine as an offensive coordinator. Couldn't cut it as a head coach.
What would you pay if we get to that scenario in a couple months where the Bears are going to pick a quarterback? What would you pay them for Fields?
Not much. I don't want Fields. There's too much indecision with Fields.
You love Fields.
Like he's not not your guy. You have to completely renovate your offense for Fields.
Same with Lamar.
Lamar is a MVP.
No, I get that, but you
a
still
much
have
better
to...
player. Sure, but Lamar is like I'm willing to renovate everything for Lamar. I don't know if I would be willing to do that for Fields if he's not my quarterback. Why would the Bears draft a quarterback? That doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Very few people actually are now saying that the Bears are going to draft a quarterback. They're going to trade the pick.
I don't think that anyone.
Of course, they're going to trade the pick.
That was always the most common and most likely option, that they would just trade the pick, get a bunch of stuff, keep Fields. I think the other argument was, if you don't believe that Fields is going to be, which you clearly don't, because you would be all over Fields if you thought he was going to be amazing. If you don't think he's going to be amazing, I would think that if you could get, it depends on, I think this whole discussion depends on what can you get for the first pick versus what can you get for Fields, and if you're convinced that any of these guys in the draft are actually better than Fields. Like if Fields,
but even if you
where
think
would
it's
Fields,
a tie, if you think it's a tie, don't you then have to do it just to reset the clock?
No, a lot of people said if Fields were in this draft, he'd go first overall with a bullet. So that's enough for me to say Fields should be your guy, right?
Okay. No, I'm just having fun with the discourse. I think
it all boils down to what someone would give you for Fields. Like if you get 3 first-round picks for the number 1 pick, and someone will give you 1 first-round pick for Justin Fields, you take the 3 first-round picks. I mean, it's not even a discussion. But if someone's like, hey, the best offer we can get for the number 1 pick is 2 firsts and 2 seconds, and what we can get for Fields is 2 firsts and a second, I would trade Fields.
And the Jets clearly have an opinion.
I wouldn't trade either in that instance.
And the Jets,
you're not getting any value for the pick. 2 firsts and 2 seconds, not enough to trade the first overall pick. You just don't make that trade.
Well, it depends on who's giving you the pick. If it's, I don't know, who's picking super high. Seattle does that. You're like, oh yeah, I'll take the number 4.
Yeah, maybe
pick.
if I can have and Denver's pick next year too.
I mean, sure, yeah, they're your 2 picks.
Yeah, maybe.
And who knows what Joe Douglas notes say about Fields, considering they could have drafted him instead of Zach Wilson.
No, that's true too.
DAK. I got a text from my father-in-law, Dallas Cowboys fan, asking me about how NFL contracts work and whether they could get like a lot of draft picks for DAK. I was like, yeah, so someone might give you like a 3rd rounder, maybe. We'll see. Not a real easy go for DAK. Towards
he played so well last Monday. That potential is there. Yeah, he played terribly on Sunday, but that doesn't mean he didn't play fantastically on Monday too, against a pretty decent Buccaneers defense. So I actually think the criticism is harsher on him than Allen. A little too harsh on him rather than Allen.
Yeah, but no one
crazy.
But no one expects Dak to be Allen. The criticism on Allen is that he's not better than Mahomes. The criticism on Dak is that he might not be good.
But that's silly. He obviously is.
I agree with you that it is silly, but you have to know what you're getting when you get Dak. You're not getting a top 5 quarterback, potentially. You're getting a fringe top 10 guy at his best, with the downside of being like really bad.
Yeah. Like Dak's biggest supporters, like the biggest Dak fan, even that guy can't rank him ahead of 8th.
Yeah, that's right.
In league quarterbacks, right? Like 7th if you're super crazy Dak fan. And yeah, now the Cowboys feel like they could be in this weird place of like just this total middle ground at QB. And I don't think they did Dak any favors. He looked like he was mobile. They could have moved the pocket more. But just crushing interceptions. It is kind of unfair that he is in some ways taking more heat than Josh Allen, when we're all like, Josh Allen's a top 3 QB. Dak, even his biggest fan would call him the 8th best QB, going up against a much better defense on a short week on the road. So Josh Allen, in my opinion, deserves way more criticism than Dak Prescott. Like the situations are not the same in terms of the spots they were in on Sunday.
But when you deal with the Cowboys, you're always just going to get more polarized opinions on it. I just don't know I don't know what the Cowboys do at quarterback if they actually do want to move on. Let's say that they do. I don't think that they should, but let's say that they do. What's their move? They're not going to start fucking Cooper Rush. There's no world where you'd sign Daniel Jones to be your quarterback instead of Dak. That's crazy. So what's the move?
I can't think of one.
What if the Jets could get Dak to?
That'd be fine. I wouldn't be opposed to that. Like, he's probably a top 12 quarterback. So, like, that's good enough for me.
Yeah, I don't know how you get rid of Dak and then have a solution that is
You don't,
better
right?
than him, unless they're the ones that would trade for Lamar. But like, that's just now.
Unless the Cowboys are, the Cowboys would have to be willing to tear the building down right to the studs to get rid of Prescott, because you're not going to win games if you don't.
Well,
and also,
Dan,
It hurts though, because you're not going to have Pollard all next year. He's gone.
no, he's not. He's out.
Zeke's
He's out like 3 months. He's going to be back.
Didn't he fracture his leg on top of a high? Yeah, like you
I thought he
can't
broke his ankle or something.
Yeah, like you can't count on Pollard like
What do you
being
mean?
back and off an injury like that. I mean, maybe he's back, but also you have to pay him. They're not going to pay him all this money now off an injury. It's not going to happen. So, like, you've got to really think through what your offense looks like going forward. I don't know what it looks like.
Probably losing their defense. The best coach on their staff could be getting a head coaching job also.
So those are the two things right now. Dan Quinn is currently interviewing with the Cardinals to become their head coach. Kellen Moore had an interview with the Panthers today to be their head coach. Let's say both those guys leave. Does that give them the ability to get rid of McCarthy and bring in Sean Payton?
No, they're not going to do that.
I think they're
Jerry's
the team that
very loyal.
I think they are
No,
the team that
they're
actually
the least
should
likely
do
to
that.
do it.
But I think they are the team that
Maybe.
should do it.
Maybe. Okay, fair. But I think they're the least likely to do it because Jerry's not going to fire McCarthy after 2 back-to-back seasons with 12 wins. Just not going to happen.
I think we all underestimate how much Jerry likes. Well, because he did have Bill Parcells. Like, he did try that, omnipresent figure who will just sort of run everything, who has had great success in the past. But other than that, it's just been a bunch of lackeys from like Campos, Phillips, Garrett. Like, he really enjoys having a guy that he can talk down to. And that's not to say he couldn't talk down to Sean Payton after paying him $20 million. But I don't know. Jerry, like, when they win a Super Bowl, Jerry wants to be handed the trophy and be like, I did it. Not like Sean Payton did it. I did it. Look at this dumb coach that I did it with too. That's all I can think of.
That's a very good point. I'm shocked. It's January 24th, and there hasn't been a head coach hired in the NFL yet.
Wouldn't they change the rules? Are they even allowed to?
This is the latest. Well, but again, there's a difference between being allowed to and announced. They used to announce these things even last year, like way earlier than this. This is really late, and we still don't have a single, even like a strong likelihood that so-and-so signs here. It's very remarkable. Because I guess in a sense, because all 5 jobs are kind of undesirable in their own way. Like, none of them are like super attractive. None of them are like horrifically bad, but none are attractive either.
You see that Bill O'Brien went back to the Patriots, Tim?
Smart. He was a good offensive coordinator in Alabama, a good offensive coordinator with the Patriots. I never liked him as a head coach. That's even though he had look at the win-loss record, he had success for the most part. I think that's a really smart move to bring Bill O'Brien in as the offensive coordinator. That's one of the first smart thing that Belichick has done in like 2 years.
Do they just not want to interview people for any of these jobs? They can only just hire people that they know?
Well, they just want to hire people that they at this point, Belichick's so old, he doesn't want to train anyone new, I don't think. He just doesn't have the energy in him to train somebody new in his way of football. So, like, why not bring in O'Brien? He knows the principles. He knows how things are supposed to run. He hits the ground running. I actually think it's a really smart hire. It's the right thing to do.
Okay, Geoff, do you got anything else NFL-wise before we get into the games?
Who do you want as OC? Don't tell me you haven't been thinking about it.
Okay.
Don't lie to me.
I can answer that, but I haven't because one thing, I did not watch like the 40-minute coach end of season presser where I heard Staley was just a full-on narcissist. I don't know what Reddit was saying, Tim, but I haven't watched it. And then my GM did a 40-minute, and I didn't watch it. And this is like I don't know where to begin. So I guess I'm still not ready, but maybe I'll never watch them, and I'll just start reading about draft stuff. As for the OC, I'm really not following it, but I do care a lot. And I have one, my criteria is I want a young guy who I've literally never heard of. Preferably went to some like Ivy League school. I know, weird criteria, but if they sign a guy I've heard of, then I'll be upset. Like, I want some no-name guy who's just drawing shit up on a whiteboard. Some young magician. That's what I hope for. What I've seen though, Tim, because I have seen the list of people they've interviewed, it just seems like it's 5 Rams assistants. It's so embarrassing. It's so embarrassing. All Staley has done. And it's like, apparently they said Justin Herbert will have input on this hire. And I just picture that as like Staley showing him a Rams media guide and like forcing him to say okay to people. Like, so it's
Pick any of these guys that you want.
So
Rams assistants.
I mean, I assume these Rams assistants who I've never heard of fit my bill of like super young, on the cutting edge sort of thing, but I've never heard of any of them. But that doesn't really bother me because I think that's what I want. The worst thing I would like if they brought in some old retread that we've seen have had 6 jobs in his career, that'll really piss me off.
Let's get to the games. San Francisco at the Philadelphia Eagles for the NFC Championship game, kicking off 3 Eastern on Sunday. Did you know, Geoff, that Cust is already triggered by the start times of the games? Throws off their biorhythms. Not fair.
I liked when it was 1 and 4:30. I mean,
Thank you.
remember that. I that's what I remember. The day starts kind of late. It makes it a lot harder, selfishly, to get the numbies for like the buddies roundup when you start at 3, because there's some buddies, then that goes into like dinner time and it's Sunday. So I prefer the 1 and 4. I don't like it. So I'm with Tim. I like it. But Tim can't like that or Joe Davis's scarf.
Oh, it's the playoffs. Don't dress like, you just walking around outside. And
don't dress like Tim going to a craft brewery, folks.
Precisely. I'm not calling an NFL playoff game. Terrible. And look, I'm right about this. Like the times, if you want to have the games later, then you put them on at 4:30 and 8:15 Eastern. Put them on at normal football times. Don't invent out a whole cloth 2 times that no one ever uses and make your most important games at weird times. It's completely nonsensical.
It's like they both want a piece of the America's Game of the Week window. That is, as you showed me with the data on the numbies this year, that is like the biggest TV spot.
Yeah, it's bigger than Sunday Night Football. I've been saying it all year. The 5 o'clock game is the big game now.
So they both want to find, like, both games find part of that window, if that makes any sense.
Yes. No, that's right. But it's still dumb and it's still weird. And like no other league does this, but
also on that note, I am of the opinion that they have a full-fledged goal of making these games neutral site.
That's I hope it never.
I was reading a report about it too, because there's so much more money I guess they earn from this that I'm with. Unfortunately,
I think that's a future goal of the league, to turn this into a, again, not to say like another Super Bowl, but another celebration day instead of these home sites hosting these games.
Because they own the league. I didn't realize this till this week. The league owns the championship games, whereas the teams own the wild card and divisional rounds. So the league that can just do it if they want. They don't even need permission.
I would guess, and maybe they can do it with full authority and they don't need the owners to sign off on it. I would find it hard to believe that the owners would sign off on it unless that game made so much more money for everyone collectively, because it's such an advantage to be the Eagles or Chiefs this week and get all that revenue coming in. Oh, you're just leaving that on the table? No, thank you. Especially when you're some of the bigger teams. Like, you think Jerry wants that? If Dallas ever hosted the NFC Championship game, how much fucking money they would make?
He probably maybe wants to host the game, like be a site host. I don't know. I think you're right, Tim. I mean, Pat, I will say selfishly, I look through everything like this through the prism of a sad Chargers fan. And to me, that means like some soft West Coast team would potentially get a go into a dome to play a big game instead of forced into Buffalo, Kansas City, Cincinnati, outdoor conditions. So as a fan of a soft West Coast team, this is something I think I would support, but I get how it's really just a
Too bad it didn't exist for the divisional round. Buffalo might have a chance to still be in these playoffs.
That's true. If they play indoors, maybe they have better footing and everything turns out better for them. I just feel like as viewers, we'd be deprived of having, like, even the game, it wasn't the most entertaining game, but I really loved watching Bengals and Bills. And we get 2 outdoor games again this week. And it's supposed to be for the fans. Like, you play all year for this. It's like when they were going to get rid of the bye on that one, like the one random version of the schedule when they were coming up with theories about what to do with the playoffs and adding an 8th team. Then no one gets a bye. It's like, well, what's the point of playing for all this then?
I swear they would have used that Bills-Chiefs neutral site game as a way to
test things out. Yeah.
As a test drive. It just, I don't know, it reeks of something they fully plan on doing. And I don't know that the owners would potentially.
If you look at the sites who've hosted the last 20 AFC championship games, there's like 5 stadiums. So that means that of the 16 AFC teams, 11 of those teams would now get a piece of the pie rather than the nothing they've been getting year in, year out. I actually think a majority of the owners would say, I'm probably not going to host this thing all that often, so why not get a piece of something rather than a whole lot of nothing?
I wonder what it would be, because obviously it would be more if you held it at a neutral site, because you would get the cities to bid on how much it was going to be. Do you think they'd have them both in one place?
That's a thought.
I think yes.
Yeah,
and you
maybe
do a Saturday, Sunday doubleheader.
Yeah, because I guess my next question would be, like, you could really set yourself up for a cluster expletive if it's, no disrespect, but it's 2 teams no one cares about in a neutral city. Like, it, you're not going to get the sort of corporate, I don't mean corporate sponsorship, but this like rush of corporate people wanting to be at those games, like the Super Bowl. So you might have to do a single site neutral doubleheader potentially to make that attractive. But then tickets become, I don't know. Then you got to track. Like, I don't know. Makes it quite a journey if your team actually goes to the Super Bowl, because you don't even get the home game to attend. It all gets real expensive. But I don't think the league cares about that. I know, like, Scott Boras always has these rumblings that he believes the World Series should be neutral site.
That sounds horrible. Not that I care. Do whatever you want with the World Series, but that actually just sounds pathetic. Like, I think that's the one thing. I mean, it's not the one thing that takes away from the Super Bowl, back to what we were saying at the very beginning, but there's something that feels so corporate and disingenuous about the Super Bowl. And I feel the same way about the Final Four as well. Like, there's something fun in baseball. Like, could you imagine, Tim, like us growing up being Blue Jays fans, you too, Geoff, I mean, you were in the city for when it happened. Yeah. Could you imagine Joe Carter hitting the home run at a neutral site field and people weren't going absolutely bananas? Like, that's a part of the visual experience, part of the atmosphere of the game. Like, even to watch, like, the Phillies this year, like when I did watch a little bit of baseball, like that Phillies home crowd was fucking awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I agree with you.
You're absolutely right. And what those crowds will be this weekend in Kansas City, in Philadelphia, or if any other team got to host these games, they'd be absolute hornets' nests.
Except for SoFi.
I read into their plan, and I know it was made out of an avoided tragedy for neutral site, but it just screamed of some like long range end game at play here.
Right, let's talk about this game. NFC Championship reset. San Francisco at the Eagles. The Eagles are 2.5-point favorites at home. 46 is the over-under. Obviously, if you just based everything on what you watched last week, the Eagles look very good against mediocre competition, and the Niners looked mediocre against good competition. Here's the thing. I thought that the 49ers looked sort of anemic in a weird way. Every part of their defense that you can exploit, Dallas couldn't really take advantage of. And I think what you're going to see from the Eagles, if you're the 49ers, is just sort of like the better version of Dallas. I really like the Eagles, -2.5 here.
I do too.
Really? You're going against your Super Bowl, not winning pick, but Super Bowl participant for the 3rd consecutive week, huh? To reverse curse them into the Super Bowl?
I mean, that is what it looks like. But in reality, I just really like the Eagles' chances this week. I still am convinced that having a quarterback who's not very good is going to get San Francisco in the playoffs. Sooner or later, those chickens have to come home to roost. And I think it'll happen here. But this is a very difficult environment, and the Eagles play phenomenal defense and should be able to, I think they will have answers to the problems that the 49ers pose. And more importantly, they can score. They will do the things that Dallas wasn't doing. They will throw the ball. They will use weird and interesting sets to make San Francisco uncomfortable. I like the Eagles a lot in this game. I think the 49ers can, of course, they can win. Of course, I don't think it's going to be a rout, but do I like the Eagles by 7-10? Yeah, I kind of do. I like the Eagles a decent amount here. I think San Francisco's lack of having a genuine quarterback rather than just a game manager is going to catch up to them. And this is the game in which it happens. The Eagles have been the best team in the NFL all season, and they're basically considered a coin flip in this game. And I don't agree. I think they are clearly a better football team, even if not by a ton. There is value on Philadelphia at -2.5. I will take the Eagles, and they're the first part of a 2-team moneyline parlay.
So, Geoff, because of the Patrick Mahomes high ankle sprain, no one's really talking about Christian McCaffrey and this calf injury where apparently he's nowhere near 100%. It's a real problem for this offense.
It would be a significant problem for this offense, and it's kind of in many ways in Philadelphia feels like it's difficult to make a case for the 49ers. The one case I can come up with, Pat, is I can't tell you a single person. I do not know a single person, sharp, square, anything in between, who is not like so confident that this thing is just so easy for the Eagles on a spread that is under a field goal. I think this thing clears the key number as we get to Sunday, just based on, like, if it doesn't, that would almost scare me if I'm the Eagles. And I haven't looked at what the exact numbers are, and these games are so sharply capped. Last week's games, I know we all felt, or lots felt that Bills line like just reeked, and we're trying to guess into it, but we're now at the point where these lines are just so sharp. Now, I like to consider myself a sophisticated square, and you better believe I'm going to bet a standalone football game, especially an NFC title. I bet Thursday night football, so sure as hell betting this. You got to maybe take the Eagles with this line, but I'm going to just be on my own island. The only human who I've seen put their name beside a pick that doesn't say the Eagles thus far will be me, Geoff Fienberg, idiot.
I think there's a pretty compelling case for the 49ers in this game, that they just do what they've done all season long. Don't make mistakes, run hyper-efficient offense. Like, they have the best offense in the playoffs so far, and they have an amazing defense. It's just the Eagles also do all of those things, and I guess we just have more faith in Jalen Hurts than Brock Purdy at this point. Maybe we're going to be wrong about that. Maybe this is like that Roethlisberger rookie year or Brady going to the Super Bowl, that you just have this excellent team around a quarterback who, tries to make mistakes but doesn't make mistakes, Tim.
Yep, that's fair. That's well said. I think A.J. Brown is going to have such a massive game, and Devonta Smith is going to have a massive game. They're going to be real trouble for San Francisco to stop. And unless the Niners have the capacity to get home with rushing 4, which, they have some good players that they can do that. Unless they can get Hurts really uncomfortable and hit him early and get him moving and jumping out of his spot, he's going to have a lot of opportunities to hit guys down the field. So, I wouldn't count the Niners out. The Niners are a very good football team. Don't get me wrong. I just think that the Eagles do everything slightly better in the things that I care about. You're asking us to cap a game. It's -2.5. I like the team that we've said all year is the best team in football.
Best adjusted sack rate of any team in football as well. And it did seem like Micah Parsons almost by himself was causing the Brock a lot of problems, Geoff, last week.
Oh, nonstop. The guy's has ballerina feet getting to the quarterback.
He loves to turn his back to live danger. He did that multiple times against Seattle. He did it again last week against the Cowboys. That is such a bad habit. You've got to get out of that.
And watching that game last week, I mean, clearly the DAK turnovers played such a huge role. But as someone like Kyle Shanahan's got this reputation of being ultra conservative in these really big games or these big moments, and he takes a lot of heat, I think, for what happened maybe even in the Falcons, the Falcons Super Bowl mishap and the 49ers Super Bowl mishap last time around versus the Chiefs. And I thought he was calling way too conservative of a game last week. I was getting annoyed. And then Dak throws a pick, and you're like, I guess that's why exactly Kyle did. Those calls, it's just sort of waiting you out to make that mistake. But Jalen doesn't do what Dak does. And
well, who have the Eagles really played with a good defense so far this year? They played the Cowboys back in like week 5 or 6, and that's when Cooper Rush was their quarterback.
At moments, maybe the Commandos, like when they're firing.
Yeah, and
feels like
and they lost to the Commanders in like week 10 or whatever it was for their first loss, and Hurts threw 3 picks in that game. Like, we're just a year removed from Hurts looking like he might not be the quarterback of this team based on how poorly he played in the playoffs against the Bucs. Like, we do all forget that because a year ago, it's a lifetime ago, but I don't know if that guy's still in there. He's improved so much that we've seen, but this is like a real ass defense he's going against. I know Minshew played in the game, like Minshew played against the Cowboys, and then he played against the Saints, and the Saints defense was ramping back up, and they just kind of locked down this Philly offense. And I know that's with Minshew and not Hurts, but I'm curious to see what happens now with like a top 2 defense coming at you. Problem is the Eagles have like the number 1 defense on the other side.
Yeah, exactly right.
So. Brings us to the
You kind of said it. The Eagles can do what the Cowboys did. They're just probably better at it, and they're at home. So that in and of itself, in combination with, we all watched the 49ers, I don't want to say get lucky, but, the DAK turnovers feel like the difference. And we all watched the Eagles just on a utter domination from go. I don't know. If Vegas is giving away free money like this, something just feels weird. So, again, I don't know anyone. I'm not even just saying it like to be silly. I have not seen a person pick the 49ers who's not sitting on some 49er future.
The coin is also going to go with Philadelphia. So 3 Philadelphia and 1 San Francisco for Geoff on the picks. Brings us to what's probably well past the midway point of the show, honestly, at this point, because there's only one more game left to go after this. But it does leave us with a mini version of Cust Corner.
Cust Corner, it's Cust Corner. Cust Corner, it's Cust Corner. He's got the hottest takes with the highest stakes. He should be president of the United States, but it's Cust Corner, it's Cust Corner. Cust Corner,
I'm tired of people telling me the things that I can't do.
Oh, God.
It's like, I can't have a heated driveway. I can't do cross-country skiing. I can't do moguls. I can do these things. I think the moguls is the hardest. So I'll say I probably would have trouble with that. But people telling me that it'd be easier for me to do moguls than cross-country ski.
I see. It was me. Hold on. I told want that. This is not the argument.
Backstory.
Yeah, he was having these arguments with like all of our friends this week in our group thread. And listen, Tim is not designed to cross-country ski. Just not. Because he was asking if cross-country skiing is harder than downhill skiing. And I suppose it depends on the levels that you want to go at. If you go to some top of like super double cross blue diamond most treacherous, yeah, you could hit a tree and die on the way downhill skiing. That would make it harder, I would assume. But realistically, you go to the top of the hill, you come down the hill. Cross-country skiing, it's like a endurance muscle cardio sport. Not the Tim Andercuss specialty, put it that way.
But you said I wouldn't get 100 meters.
I don't think you would move.
That's foolish. Of course I'd move.
Like, you could step with the skis on, sure. That's not really doing it.
And you glide. You just get some momentum going.
He wouldn't have to do some super long distance cross country.
No.
Like, I don't. It just
the idea that I wouldn't get 100
honestly
meters
seems very leisure. Like, it actually seems way more up Tim's alley.
Thank you, Geoff.
Have you ever been cross country skiing?
No, and I've a big ski family, and a lot of winters away with like winter cottages and such like that. And I gave it up to stay home and watch football. In my teenage years. No, I never tried it because it just seemed like boring. And you're right, like we'd family do it, they'd disappear for half the day. They'd be on some like a hike, but cross country skiing. I just think like a short distance cross country ski excursion is way more up Tim's alley than me picturing like his knees over his belly button as he's doing moguls.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you, Geoff.
but all he has to do is run into the moguls and then fall down. So of course he could do it.
It's just like people are like, oh, you could possibly do 100 meters cross country skiing. Like, what are you talking about? People love to think about all things I can't do.
Well, you said that you could do it, and you said, "I bet you it's pretty easy." And I was like, "No, cross country skiing is incredibly. If you're on a completely if you're on some sort of manicured track, but if you just go out and it's like fresh powder that's in there, you ain't going anywhere, pal."
Oh, you see people in cities all the time cross country skiing during a snowstorm to work or whatever. Like,
you see it all the time, Geoff. You see that all the time, do you?
You see that on the news every storm.
He's talking about like just a generic like clip on the news of like, dude.
You always see it.
Tim, what about snowshoeing? Wouldn't that just be more easier up your alley?
That would be perfect. Easy. You have no upper body strength. You wouldn't be able to get yourself going.
But my legs are stronger than my arms.
Your legs are stronger than your arms. That is true. But my legs are stronger than your legs, and you're carrying 2.5 times the weight.
But I don't know. I think my legs are pretty darn strong. I'd get myself moving.
I think he could do like a 45-minute hour.
Thank you. Oh, that's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm.
We're not talking about the King's race from the Olympics. I'm talking about like a kilometer or two. Back and forth. Very doable. Eminently doable.
Now, like a big lap around like some property.
Yes, exactly. We're not talking about exactly, Geoff.
What happens the first time there is even a modicum of an incline?
You have the poles. You use the poles for leverage.
You have no strength. You're not going anywhere.
I have enough strength and I have the poles. To keep myself going.
He's still in his 30s. He's not like brittle. Like,
well, this is it, right? Like
the guy that can't stand up without limping. That guy.
Again, people love
the guy that watching football is too taxing on for his body.
Well, football can be emotionally exhausting.
Yes, it can. You can be drained at the end of a game. You have no energy left. 100. Geoff and I are on the exact same page.
It is really embarrassing. You've been out watching football all day. You come home, the wife's been great with the kids, and you kind of just want to like, you don't understand. I'm exhausted. Like, that took so much out of me.
100% agree. And Geoff probably agrees with me too that all homes being built from here forward, if possible, in cold climates, should have heated driveways.
Oh, you gotta be able to afford it. I mean,
Geoff is saying the exact argument. No one said that having a heated driveway was a bad idea. Everyone just said it's a fucking waste of money.
And I'll tell you this about it. Like, I've got a friend who's building a house, and we all called him crazy for doing it because, like, you got to have so much extra liquid to do it. But the heated driveway, it also sort of, that part of the project happens closer to the end, and you're already so over budget where, like, I've seen people plan for it and scrap it. Because it's like, it's one of the last things that you install and you're kind of all over budget. But if you've got the cheddar, oh my God. Yeah, you live in Canada. And if you're if you can afford to build a nice multi-car garage house in 2023, in a nice neighborhood, for sure, get that heated driveway.
Well, this was it. People were saying, oh, it's too expensive. And I understand that it's an expense.
It is.
That's a very fair point. But at the same time, like, what's your health worth? What's your comfort worth? Like, not to have to go out and shovel. But
who's building a custom home who doesn't have, like,
well,
money?
This is it, too. If you can build your own home, you can afford to put a heated driveway.
Hold on. If you can afford to build your own home, you can afford the extra $75,000 to $100,000 for a heated driveway.
Oh, you could do it cheaper than that, I'm sure.
Really? You're sure? How sure are you?
How much do you think like a basic driveway costs? Because
There you go.
I have to replace my very basic driveway.
Yeah, probably $7,000-8,000.
I imagine it's like the systems they
Little
have
bit more,
under
but
those fancy
pretty
golf
close.
courses, right? Like, I don't know. I can't imagine what goes into heating the driveway from underground.
Well,
Yeah, it's probably like I would imagine it's like a $20K additional expense, which
Way
yeah,
more.
it's
that's-
not.
that's-
It's
that's real
way,
money.
it's
That's real
way
money.
more than that.
Way more.
You were told
Way
how
more.
much it costs, and now you're just choosing not
Well,
to
it
believe
depends how
it.
large. Well, also depends how large. If you're somebody with a really really long driveway, like some of our friends have super long driveways, it very well might cost that much for them. But if you don't have a crazy long driveway, yeah, you should have one. Like it wouldn't be super expensive.
Talking about
and,
like a brand new building project on like a lot that you can.
I mean, like like shoveling is risky and dangerous, and no one likes to do it. And it's really nice to have that's all that snow melted when you wake up. Everyone else is
This
out there
is literally
shoveling. And
just
you,
like
Shut-
saying you should
but-
only fly first class or something. Like it's not possible. Like it's such a crazy take. As much as
Also, Jeff, just remember, cross-country skiing for 45 minutes to 60 minutes, easy. Shoveling your driveway, kind of risky.
well,
I
it is
love-
risky. People who
I
are healthy
love, like,
drop
the-
dead every year, unfortunately, from shoveling based accidents.
the alternate Tim universe where he drives like a Bentley SUV, goes out for Wagyu beef, comes home to his heated driveway.
Well, the whole point came up, too, is that it's a complete waste of fucking money where we are. How many times, Jeff, do you think we've had to shovel snow so far this winter in Canada?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not in the same place. I've had a really light winter,
Once.
maybe like 3. Okay, yeah, so we're at about probably 3 here. I'm not even kidding.
So what if, let's say, you just paid someone to come plow your driveway every single year? You could pay them $50. Hell, you could pay them $100 ago, and you'd have it
Yeah, but
left
you're not
over
adding value
$70,000
to your house. You're not adding to the resale
It's
value.
it's
of your
harder to
house.
sell that house. You realize that?
It's not harder to sell.
Yes, it
houses.
is.
People would be fired up.
Hi, I'm Tim. I've never bought a home or sold a home. Let me tell you about how real estate
Yeah.
works.
Why would I want nicer things in my house? What an outlandish.
Now, I
thing,
will
yeah.
say, in defense of Tim, if you are like building a house in a certain neighborhood, you
Sure.
probably
You-
do want it
Where
for
you
resale.
where you live and you live
exactly.
on the bridle path, sure. Where I live,
Don't-
people would laugh you out of the fucking building.
I didn't realize Jeff lived on the bridle path.
don't live on the bridle path.
Hey, you
That
live
would
within
explain
10
all the
minutes of
fancy,
it.
That would explain all the fancy ski weekends in Aspen that you were skipping.
No, I did skip a few, but I don't know. I didn't want to be in close quarters with my. If you get to a certain age, you don't want to be in like close chalet quarters with your family.
Paul,
Anyway,
Paul has a comment.
I just want to poke holes in the fact that Tim is like talking about how people have like heart attacks and hurt themselves shoveling their driveway. It's like those exact same people. Imagine they tried to
Cross-country
cross-country
ski.
ski for an hour.
Well, no,
They
sometimes
die.
people who are perfectly healthy who just overexert themselves, and like shoveling is extraordinarily taxing on you. If you're rushing to shovel, you will do great. You can do very great damage to yourself. Do not rush. There's nothing tough or masculine or important. Do not rush. Take your time. It's a very, very, very intensive thing to do.
You realize it's far less taxing than cross-country skiing, right?
Okay, but I'm not saying I can do a super long race in cross country ski.
You just
Like
said you
Jeff
could do. You just said you could do 45 minutes to an hour.
Yeah, that's what Jeff said, and I agree with him. I think
but
Jeff
you
was
also
saying
say you need
I
a
agree.
break every 15 minutes when you shovel.
for safety.
So on the cross country trail, there might not be a bench every 12 minutes.
I'll bring a thermos with me. You got a backpack on? I'll have a thermos with me.
He's adding weight to himself now.
Oh, it doesn't weigh that much.
What else is going to be in your?
right about
I've never. And listen, congratulations to you. I hear that you've kicked some of the sweets, or you've kicked the M&Ms out of your house because they went
Completely.
woke.
There's nothing in my house that's easy to eat. Anything you want to eat here, you have to work at.
Yeah, so congratulations to you on that. The one I will say, cross country skiing, it does seem like 99% of the people that do it are in incredible shape. They're incredibly slender,
the fittest
human
people on
beings.
earth.
Yeah, they're like incredibly slender humans. When you see this like train of cross country skiers heading into their trail, there's no one that looks like me in that group. I promise. Yeah.
They cross-country ski in the winter, and they run marathons in the summer. But Tim also ran
I ran a half
marathon.
I
There you
ran a
go.
half marathon. Exactly. So
We ran a half marathon, and he's still wearing the medal to this day.
so what we learned from this is that cross-country skiing, the hardest thing on earth, and heated driveway is no good.
You see, again, you taking that away from what was being said is why you're going to win Most Insane at the Custies again.
I don't know, just by bringing up a theory of a discussion of how Geoff understands the Super Bowl led to him laughing uproariously for 5
No,
good
that
minutes.
was because of what happened. I was still in a giggle fit because I was confused as to what happened before we even started recording. Yeah,
Well-
I don't know. These are weird takes. When you first said I don't like people telling me I can't do something, I thought that was going like back to like some Derrick Henry related situation. Or something.
Well, that annoys me too. You can't cross-country ski, Tim. Oh, no, you can never just put on a ski and move one foot in front of the other. That's the hardest thing on the face of the earth. You know, you have an easier time splitting the atom than doing that. Okay, if you say so.
I feel like you would have an easier time splitting the atom than doing that.
Yeah,
You're
okay,
a pretty
you know,
technical guy. You're a smart guy. You could probably figure that out.
Yeah,
you-
I don't
can
know
you
that
wa-
nuclear.
Sorry.
What
I
were
was
you
going to
saying?
ask
No,
if
but just-
Tim can water ski because his family
No, he
lives on the
can't
lake.
water ski.
If you can't
I've
water
never really
ski, I
attempted-
don't
I've
think
never
you.
really
I don't
attempted
think
to
you
water
can
ski.
Why didn't you attempt to water ski?
I just never bothered. I
Just
like
can't
to be
do it.
pulled around with tubes.
You like to be pulled on.
Yeah, we have one of these big tubes that you get on, and then you just get pulled around on. I far prefer that. It's more fun that way.
Cross country skiing and tobogganing, there's really no difference between the two of them. That's like tubing versus water skiing.
I wish we had GT racers. I was a good tobogganer on my GT racer.
We used to have pretty competitive GT racing trials, like 12, 13 people, especially with people like on the back ready to tackle you and take your head off, and you have to dodge them the entire time. I feel like you would not have done well at that.
I don't know. I think I'd have been fine.
You'd get hit once and you'd quit.
No, I wouldn't.
Hey, real
I
soft.
played football. I don't quit just because I get
You,
hit.
you played 1 year of you played 1 year of football when you were like 13.
Yeah, something like that. 13, 14.
Tim,
Yeah.
what would you rather put into your home, a heated driveway or a swimming pool? Because I'd 100% pick a pool.
I would prefer a natatorium, which is an indoor swimming pool. That I would take over a heated driveway, but I would take the heated driveway over an outdoor swimming pool. I don't want to be outdoors swimming, and you can only use it a few months of the year. Oh, I can use it like what? For like 3 weeks in June, then July, August,
many
maybe
weeks
in
you get
September.
a driveway
Yeah, how
for?
often are you? The whole point was how often are you using this fucking heated driveway?
Yeah, but what it's preventing me from having to do is worth the 4 or 5 times that it's not worth, that I don't
No,
want to.
because you can still pay, like you can pay the best, the guy that'll be there before everybody. Like you can pay even for a higher end removal guy.
Yeah, I pay
But
my
you-
guy. I pay my guy $100, and he comes twice. He comes before I wake up, and then if it snows more during the day, he comes back again. It's easy.
Yeah, I don't like that. I don't like
Like,
that.
I'm
I'd
just
rather-
saying there's
Why,
still a way to get-
why don't you like that?
I would rather be able to flip a switch and it would just all melt for me.
So you'd rather pay upwards of $100,000 rather than paying $500 a winter.
Well, if you had a super crazy long driveway, that's different. It would become
If you have
impractical.
any driveway, what's the fucking difference?
No, I don't agree. I think it's a nice feature and it adds to the resale value of the house, and it's a really cool thing. But would I rather an indoor swimming pool than that? Yes, I would. Then you can swim 12 months of the year.
Your laziness would make that room smell so terrible.
You know how much it costs to have an indoor pool?
Well,
I just looked it up.
Slightly more. I'm sure it's slightly more than an in-ground outdoor pool.
How much do you
Yes.
think it costs? Give me a figure.
Like to put one in your house?
Yes.
Is that what you're at? Is that what the price you have is, Paul?
Yeah.
I'd say $25,000.
No,
Way more, I'd
that's
say.
like you're spending more. If you actually have like an
That's
in-ground
like to make
outdoor
the
pool,
room.
you're probably spending like 30,000-40,000. An indoor pool, according to the Google, says
Natatorium.
about $200,000.
Yeah, there was a person who had an indoor pool who lived like down the street from me growing up. When they went to go sell the house, they had to get rid of the indoor pool because no one fucking wanted it. It hurt the
Oh,
resale
I
value of
would-
the house.
I would want an indoor pool.
They're big mold hazards.
There you go.
Yeah, no one want. I don't think people do that anymore
No, they don't.
at all. And I can't believe you would rather a heated driveway and then, a pool over a heated driveway and just pay someone $500 to clear your driveway.
Well, first, I'm not going to use an outdoor pool very much.
I mean,
Let's be
let's face it, you're not going to use an indoor pool very much either.
Oh, no, that's different. And then I'm not outside where I have to deal with the weather and this, getting that and the other. And, I have to be like outdoors. I get to be inside. I get to control the climate that I'm in. I get to, I get to swim indoors, which, is really nice. I don't know. Of course I would use it. I'd use it every day if I had
Well, I assume it'd be a heated pool outdoors.
Yes, even still. Like, you still have to be outside. And then
I'm just saying, if I did put an extra $80K into a luxury, I would definitely pick a outdoor pool over a heated driveway, 100 out of 100 times. Even living in Canada.
That's an interesting poll. If you had $80K and you had to spend it on a luxury item for yourself, what would you spend it on?
Because I can still spend $500 and have the guy here first.
I agree.
I still don't have to clear my snow. That's the point. I'm still not clearing my snow, and I have a pool.
I don't want a pool is the thing. I don't want the heated driveway either. I think I'd just spend that money and divvy it up and have some net jets and fly private places. I think that's a better.
So you wouldn't want a heated driveway. So you're opposed to heated driveways.
I mean, I don't care. I mean, yeah, okay. If you gave me no cost involved heated driveway versus non-heated driveway, yes, of course, I would want the heated driveway. That's not
okay. What are we arguing about?
Because we told you that's not reality. You seem to think that it's just super easy to install, super cheap. Yay, might as well just have a heated driveway. Why don't people have heated driveways, Geoff?
Well, if you
I
can
don't
afford
get
to
it.
build your own house.
I feel like you don't understand the cost of anything.
Well, it would be cheaper to put it in while you're building it rather than afterwards.
Sure. You know what? That is correct. It would be cheaper to put it in while you were building it than replace a driveway and then put it in. You are correct on that. You realize that houses vary in how much they cost to build, right?
Of course they do.
No, I don't think you know that.
Yes, I do know that. I'm not a moron.
Do you? Well, you just said if you can afford to build your own house, you can afford a heated driveway. That's not true.
What's tacking on an extra $30K gonna do? Like Geoff said, you're running over anyway. Like you might as well.
I guess. Okay,
you might as well get it. You might as well get your dream home the way you want it.
Hey, I'm Tim. I've clearly never applied for a mortgage.
But I guess this goes like everything with Tim. Like if you're building a luxury home, then maybe you have a heated driveway and a pool. But I don't know. Do people custom build from scratch? Like, how do I put, not developers, but just normal people build custom homes?
Yeah, my grandfather built.
That came off really weird.
My grandfather bought a plot of land on a lake and built himself a cottage, 2-story cottage around 2,500 square feet. He built it all himself.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I would love to be able to build my own house. I have plans for what it would look like. Be amazing. I'd have a sunroom. That's a necessity. A sunroom that faces east.
Like old Wendy's restaurants.
Yes. That is exactly what I'm thinking. Yes. That is a fantastic comparison. If I could live in a Wendy's in 1993, I would do it in a heartbeat. That was the coolest layout of any restaurant. And some of the DQs later on followed that exact same model of having the big solarium dining room. But yeah, Wendy's was the OG of that. And anytime we went to Wendy's, we always sat in the sunroom. Yes. Hell yes, that was amazing. Oh my God. That is such a flashback of nostalgia. Thank you, Jeffrey. Definitely have to have a solarium in my house. Honestly, my house would look a lot like the Clue house.
Wasn't that just a giant mansion?
Yes. I'm not building a little tiny home here. I'm building a house.
I'll be honest. I think if I got to have any luxury that was somewhat within reason, although it's still expensive at this moment in my life, I might pick a golf simulator.
I was going to say golf simulator. Golf simulator. How much do you think a golf simulator costs, Tim?
The real good ones?
Yeah,
not the ones.
What's
That's
that?
a like
50K.
That's probably
Maybe,
too
I
much. I think that's more than the cost actually.
Oh,
Like what would
it
you rather?
does seem like
what would you rather have? Half a heated driveway or a golf simulator?
yeah, golf simulator. But I mean, golf simulator.
I'm one of these people that I mean, I don't have a room. I've got 2 young kids. The basement, I guess, is theirs. For the
Get a variance and build an add-on.
Yeah, of course, and add the indoor pool. But I am of this hope when I'm ready for golf simulator that like the technology has come so far along that it's like just gets exponentially cheaper as we keep going every couple of years ahead.
It will.
Yeah,
I know someone who built their own. Like they got all the separate pieces and put
Rick
it in their
Gaiman?
garage. No, it wasn't Rick. It's like someone who lives around me. And he was able to cobble it all together for like $6-7 grand, but he knew how to get all the machines to talk to themselves. He had the space for it, installed everything himself. Something that none of us would be able to do.
I could not do that.
Like I have the space for it, right there. Just put a big golf simulator up on the wall right there. Move the desk back, and boom, we could do it in the office.
That'd be sweet.
It would be. You're not invited.
Yes, I am.
Nope. Sorry. All right, AFC Championship game. Bengals at Chiefs. Chiefs are now 2.5-point dogs at home against the Bengals. So they're taking this Mahomes ankle injury very seriously because the Chiefs opened as 2.5-point favorites. So it's been a 5-point swing throughout the course of the week. Looking back on it, Geoff, this happened to Patrick Mahomes. He had a high ankle sprain on his left ankle. Now, not his plant ankle like it is right now. Week 1 of the 2019 season happened against the Jags. He threw for 334 and 3 touchdowns in that game. He played in week 2 and threw for 450 and 4 touchdowns against the Raiders. Again, different injury, but Andy Reid did say that this injury is not as serious as that one. Could be coach speak. Who knows? The market is certainly reacting to it. Joe Burrow and the Bengals have had Mahomes' number. In Kansas City, it really hasn't mattered. They've beat them 3 times in a row at this point. So I think, saying it's a deserving favorite against a home team in an AFC championship game with a team that's been there 5 years in a row is kind of crazy to say, but I get it. That said, I'm still going to take Kansas City here. Based on what I said earlier, is I think that Cincinnati offensive line got bailed out a little bit by playing in the snow. Maybe they're not quite as competent as they looked last week, and Kansas City can still get to you certain times in the game. Obviously, their defense isn't great by any means. So if it's a combination of I think Cincinnati is going to allow Kansas City to get home to Burrow and keep him under a little bit of duress, and that Mahomes is maybe not as banged up as everyone and the line would indicate that he is, I think it's Kansas City's game. And no one, almost like San Francisco, no one's picking Kansas City at this point.
No one is picking Kansas City. That is for certain, Pat. And like you, when we started this recording, it was 2.5 and the board says 2.5 and we're playing 2.5. But just to sort of try to get to the bottom of whatever's gone on in the last hour and a half, it is now 1.5 everywhere. But I'm good with playing it to the board. I'm just hoping we didn't miss something. I can only assume maybe just good or bad injury news as it relates to the Bengals.
Well, at some point, there was going to be big take back on the Chiefs, right? There had to be.
People were hoping it got to 3. If it got to 3, the hammer was coming down from everyone, wasn't it?
Yeah, so I guess
maybe it already has.
Yeah, I guess maybe this is just, to Tim's point, maybe just some simple Chiefs buyback on a line that has flipped. I agree. Chiefs Nation, I have the utmost respect for them. They've been kind to me. I did make a wrong prediction on the division winner, but that was probably heavy bias. And there was a heavy bias induced there, but from go, I've been this Chiefs, like any down talk of the Chiefs in the offseason, I was having none of. But we're here, we're in the Final Four, and Tim will understand what I'm about to say. I have to pick the Bengals. I'm not cheering for a division rival to go to the Super Bowl to try to win a second Super Bowl. So it's just a standalone game that I'm going to bet. Mm-hmm. I don't really want to say with my heart because I don't really care about the Bengals, but I'm just not here to see I'm just not here for it. And I hope Chief fans can respect that. And I've been quite accurate about them this year and how good they would be. But now it's just time. I hope they do not win the game. I'll deal with Joe Burrow being a Super Bowl champion instead.
If Joe Burrow wins this game, as I've been seeing on Twitter, Tim, he's better than Patrick Mahomes.
Seems silly. I mean, in this game, if Burrow at 100% versus Mahomes injured, yeah, Burrow probably is slightly better.
No, but just if he wins, he's officially the better quarterback now.
That seems silly. I mean, I think it's also silly when people say there's a massive gap between them. I don't buy that either. But, Mahomes is better. I mean, to be serious, he is better. Even if the gap is shrinking and even if it's not as big as some people say. That's dumb.
It just, I don't know how to put it. It does feel weird. I do have a problem just sort of conflating 4 years of Mahomes, 5 years of Mahomes being truly the most dominant force in football to then saying it's now up to one game. The head-to-head record, though, between them speaks absolute volumes that can't be ignored. But I mean, even as 3 weeks ago, it's undisputed Patrick Mahomes is the best football player on planet Earth. And now
he's going to be the MVP. He is going to be the MVP.
And now he might not be the best quarterback in the league. There are people that want to make this argument, which I don't hate because I can have fun with, in just true pure quarterbacking, maybe Joe Burrow is better. But in football player, athlete, superhuman, it's clearly a healthy Patrick Mahomes, right?
I think so.
I don't understand what that argument means.
It's almost in the way that sometimes we'd say, or people say, and I could even have been guilty of saying, maybe Peyton Manning was more talented, but Tom Brady is just a better winning quarterback. I don't know. Maybe I'm making up an argument here.
Okay, maybe so. But now that Brady has won so much but I'm on the same page as you. Even during the time, I always thought that Peyton Manning was better than Tom Brady. When they were both at their primes, but Brady continuously beat the shit out of him. That's what made him the greatest quarterback of all time. If Joe Burrow keeps beating Patrick Mahomes, that's what's going to happen. It just seems crazy after last year's game, this year's game. Maybe the Bengals are just a better team than the Chiefs.
Yeah, I mean, if Mahomes gets beaten by Burrow this year, and then the Bengals win the Super Bowl, at that point, Burrow has nearly all the credentials that Mahomes has.
Pretty much. Minus two
MVPs, the passing records, all that, the longevity of him doing it.
Burrow's been in the league less time, and Burrow also had the greatest season the quarterback ever had in college football.
Well, 3 years.
Matter.
No, well, it does when people look at that their legacy.
No, it would
right, well, Tim
Tebow
better than Patrick Mahomes.
No, but no. That's not,
I see what Tim is saying.
Jeff,
if you can piggyback, in a 4 year period, you won a Heisman National Championship, you tore your ACL in your NFL rookie season, you went to a Super Bowl, you went back to a Super Bowl.
And you beat Mahomes each
and
time
you're
to get
first
there.
overall. And that comes with the pedigree of first overall.
Mm-hmm.
We're all we're all ready to believe in top prospects. We need to see more out of 6th round picks than we do the top prospects, even if they're doing the same thing right away. Always.
And in both those years, you would have beaten Mahomes in the regular season and beat him in Kansas City both times for the AFC Championship game.
But if you could do a draft Monday morning, if you could put either of them on the Jets, forgetting contracts or anything, who are you taking?
Mahomes.
I would take Mahomes.
Everyone's taking Mahomes. That's
I don't think
argument.
I mean, is it close? It's getting closer all the time. But is it Mahomes right now still? Yes, of course it is.
It'd be one thing if Burrow was 23 and not if they were almost exactly the same age, too.
Yeah, I'm not as concerned about their age, particularly as we see quarterbacks go later and later. I kind of think that's sort of not as important.
No, but it'd be one thing if Burrow was really catching up to Mahomes and he's 23 and Mahomes is 27. They're 26 and 27. They're within a year of each other.
Yeah, but can Burrow pass him? Sure, it's definitely possible. He's got enough skill to pass him, but he will not have yet passed him, even if he beats him this week. But he is the better quarterback in this game because Mahomes, this is a serious injury. Just as I think it would be crazy to completely write the Chiefs off in this game because he's injured. I think the line is a very fair line. It reflects, I think, the reality of a high ankle sprain. That Mahomes, if the Jags can, or so if the Bengals can force him to try to move, and they just take Kelsey out of play, I don't know. It's gonna be a challenge. But I mean, no one can rise above the challenge more than Mahomes. It's a very tough game to pick because I was all about wanting the Bengals. Even on Sunday afternoon, it's like I really will like the Bengals next week. But man, the spread has got it to a point where the Chiefs are appetizing. I'll take the Bengals, and we'll put them on the money line as well.
So Philly, Cincy, favorite money line pays plus 190.
It's the most fun Super Bowl too. It's the most fun Super Bowl.
Well, I thought you would like the Andy Reid.
I would too. Yeah.
Nah, he's won a Super Bowl. He's been there. He's been there twice. Like
there are a lot of like we could even for people older than us. I certainly didn't watch the game. We've seen the highlights of the Montana Bengals 2-minute drill versus the Bill Walsh, Sam Weiss.
Maybe I'm a weirdo. I like to cheer for Super Bowls that haven't happened before.
No, I don't. I like to see teams that have been downtrodden get theirs. Like that
I just think Eagles Bengals brings to bear the best team in the NFC all last year and the defending AFC champ. I think that's the most fun Super Bowl to be had. As long as Brock Purdy's not involved, it's going to be a fun Super Bowl.
I don't know.
I will enjoy. Sorry, Pat.
I was going to say the Niners haven't won in almost 30 years, right? Since they beat the Chargers, 94.
Yeah, they were there,
but they've been twice
in the last.
Yeah, but they've lost.
No,
they've lost, but they're just not an interesting story. Like they're not fun to watch in the way that the Eagles, Chiefs, and Bengals in their own way.
I think it's an incredibly interesting story. On their third quarterback.
And I'm sure you thought Francis Ouimet was a really interesting story over and over again in the U.S. Open. Like I'm just not interested in Brock Purdy being Mr. Irrelevant and hearing that 500,000 times during Super Bowl week. It just doesn't interest me.
I'm actually kind of here for seeing the 49ers win the whole thing, but I don't really have that much of a rooting.
I don't want to live in a world where Brock Purdy has won himself a Super Bowl.
Well, I don't want to live in a world where like Mahomes is twins.
Well, but like I'd rather just know what the reality of the situation is and deal with it.
Paul, what you had something to say?
Yeah, inquiring minds just want to know which side of the NFC is Tim taking credit for this year. Because the San Francisco 49ers were his NFC champion, right? And he's been taking credit all the way up into this game, and then now he's taking the Eagles. So is he going to take credit regardless of how this game plays out?
Of course, that's what he does.
I mean, I will be deserving of credit if the 49ers win. It'd be 3 years in a row I nailed either one or two teams in the preseason Super Bowl to go to the Super Bowl. That's pretty impressive.
But you're setting yourself up for credit regardless.
But, I didn't pick them at the start of the year.
He's hedging his credit, Geoff.
I also didn't pick them to go to the Super Bowl because I thought they'd have a third-string quarterback under center.
I mean, I don't know. If Burrow gets one and Chief fans think they should already have three, that would be like, in that whole dynamic, that would be something.
Yeah, well, they become the Atlanta Braves of football, and that's kind of fun.
No, because they won the first one.
Well, in terms they have one, and they haven't won anything since.
But they'll be staged to go back to many more, though.
Yeah, but they basically just end up like the Rodgers Packers.
No, because the Rodgers Packers only went to one.
But they won the one early, and then they just kind of floated off. But they were around it. They never got back, but they were around it every single year. Like it's sort of like the advanced Marino.
A little bit. I don't know. I think it's kind of fun if the Chiefs never win again, even though they won one. So it's not like they're deprived. But it'd be fun if they never won.
Why are you cursed them into getting their triplets that I've just so talked about them not getting forever.
I mean, let them have it. I mean, I wouldn't be upset about it either.
I would.
Well, I understand why you would. The same way that I was cheering full throat for Cincinnati last week, you're cheering for them this week. I get it.
No, I'm not full throat. I don't think it's full.
Oh, please. You'll be going on Chiefs Reddit and dancing if they...
What are you talking
about? Oh,
man.
You will.
Charger fan is going on Chiefs Reddit today.
There will be a Chiefs lose upvote party like you wouldn't believe on Chargers Reddit.
Wait, can you explain what this is? What is this you're talking about?
People just upvote threads when teams lose that you don't like.
Do you vote in those?
Yeah, but
I've upvoted like Patriots lose upvote parties or Dolphins lose. And Bills lose. Like,
I can have my one.
Put it this way: the last 3 weeks, I watched the Patriots, Dolphins and Bills in consecutive weeks get knocked out of the playoffs.
You
I've
got
had a
knocked out
really
the week
fun.
before.
Yeah, so I had to suffer it, but then the last 3 weeks I've been able to just dine on the Schadenfreude of three teams who, less so the Patriots, but the Dolphins and Bills at points this year. People said they were a Super Bowl team.
No, I'm still wondering who said that the Dolphins were a Super Bowl team this
When
year.
they were 8-3 before that San Francisco game, and Tua hadn't gotten hurt the second time, the whole
It was
world
starting.
was on
It
the
was
line.
starting.
No,
I saw.
no, it wasn't.
saw.
No, at no
It
point,
was
at no
starting.
point of the season did anyone really think they were better than the Chiefs or the Bills. Maybe they were the third team in the AFC.
Oh, yes, they
are,
did.
Are you talking about Dolphins fucking Reddit?
Dolphins, Dolphins.
No, it was
fans.
a
Jeff
main-
knows this. Jeff knows this. Yes.
It was a convert. Like now, maybe we need to put them in this group. They're Super Bowl odd.
Mhm.
Got really low. Listen,
What do you think? What do you think? What do you
think?
think that their highest ranking in the Super Bowl odds was? Sixth, maybe.
Oh, I know
Well,
that
that's
the number,
a
but
legit,
the odd.
I don't know, but that's a
the
legit
odd,
chance to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, were
the
they?
odd, I think, got under 15-1.
Yeah, were they ever?
Yeah, people
were they
were
ever in the
hyped
same
for the Dolphins.
stratosphere of the Bills or Chiefs?
No, I never put them there. But I
No, in terms of odds, did the Bills or Chiefs ever drop below 5-1 at any point?
No, they never got in that stratosphere. But people are always trying to find,
And it was Miami this year because their offense was so good against Houston and so good against Chicago.
But
they're
I
the
agree.
greatest team.
No one. We were all sort of there was still a lot to go with the Dolphins. So I don't. But there was a moment. They won 5 in a row, and there were wheels. There were wheels turning. It wasn't just Tim's dad.
And had they
talking,
beaten San
it wasn't
Francisco
just
in that
Tim's
game,
dad talking Scottsdale.
no, a lot of people were talking Dolphins Super Bowl, and they will next year too. By the way, don't forget it.
I heard more chatter only from you about the Jets going to the Super Bowl than I heard anyone talking about Miami going to the Super Bowl.
It's fair.
I don't know. I don't know who you heard from, so I really can't.
Well, I heard from you, and that made it one more than I heard about anyone talking about the Dolphins in the Super Bowl.
Well, you're not looking hard enough.
But Tim,
Where are you looking then?
Online,
On Dolphins Reddit?
amongst other places.
Fuck is wrong with you?
Lots is wrong with him, and I also think, and it goes back to our, who's insane, who's not insane.
It's Tim.
You
Tim's
are.
the insane one.
Yeah, no. And
You know
I
what?
always vouch-
Hold on. You don't think Tim is insane? Watch this. What are you laughing at?
What did I just walk in on?
He just started randomly laughing. I think he's doing this from the bathtub and he's farting and he's seeing the bubbles. That's the only thing I can imagine.
Literally nothing was said.
Did I do something? I don't know.
No, I was reading something. Made me laugh.
Serious
Lock him
literature.
Whew.
That's bad for your most insane campaign. there.
Well, if Jeff doesn't go to
Clip's
Wisconsin,
definitely making
it doesn't
the
really matter. Jeff doesn't go to Wisconsin, it doesn't really matter.
You having your
Ugh.
laugh riot?
How has your detox been, Jeff, from social media?
Nice. Woo.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Whoa.
I can say I have not been detoxed from social media this week. I had a lot of fun in some Reddit threads this week. Okay. Let's just say that.
I don't think it counts as social media when you don't ever contribute anything to it. I think you're like a part of parasocial media.
It's certainly a passive experience to go on Bills Reddit or Giants Reddit or and see the sadnesses. Or go back to Dolphins Reddit and see them recriminate about how they should have won last week. Stuff like that.
Okay, you guys ready? You guys ready to go?
So I thought maybe I missed the intro or something.
I'm going to go on mute so you can start.
Do you think he just pressed the volume off button on his laptop, or do you think he actually muted himself?
Let's see.
Well, seems like he's pretty good. All right, I guess we should start the show. Still having a gig fit over there? You crazy person?
I was laughing at a text thread that I was reading. It just made me laugh.
Uncontrollably?
It was very funny.
Am I on this text thread?
Yes.
Did you hear me shitting my pants laughing?
No, but you were also getting ready for the show and probably weren't looking at your...
What were you doing?
Well, I was already ready.
Oh, okay. Yes.
I have less to prep for than you do.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
You're far more prepared than I am.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just the guest.
Mm-hmm. How long do you think that went on for, Geoff? Because it started before you joined the line.
Oh, yeah, I was like a minute late, and it seemed like something was full-blown by the time I clicked in. And part of me even thought you had started recording because it felt so like it was just going on.
Paul and I were very confused. And then
Fair
Paul
enough.
went, Wah!
I'm good.
You're sounding pretty sane over there.
Yeah, I am sane.
Well, on that note, like I see Tim sort of puts this on me that I would be on the Reddit or dancing on Chiefs graves. That was the point I was making, is I'm self-aware enough to know my spot here. Like I'm weird and I love my team, but I'm self-aware to know like no Chargers fan's gonna laugh at a Chiefs fan for losing an AFC title game, a game they've been in like 5 years in a row. Like, no, I'm not allowed. That's insane.
You had a good laugh last year when they threw away that game against the Bengals. You came on here and thoroughly enjoyed it. They had a
huge second half lead in the same way. Like, I wasn't expecting them to lose that game, and they lost, and they're a division rival. In the same way, if the Raiders or Broncos, I don't cheer for them in the AFC Championship. I'm not looking. This isn't like represent the Big Ten, represent the division, do us proud. Like, no, I'm exactly like you were against Patriots on their Super Bowl quest. Like, get out of here. Anyone but you. But I'm self-aware. No, I can't laugh. Well, okay, yes, I can be happy they lost
that day.
I did. No, but I mean, like, I'm not going on their message boards and laughing at them is my point. Like you do.
It was said
to go behind enemy lines.
It was said in our group chat, Tim or Geoff. This is the thing that cracked him up, that he was told to be true to yourself, Cust. Live your most insane life. Then he had a laughing fit for 4 minutes.
And he did.
Why is that fun?
It was the line before that, too, about trying to sound reasonable without being reasonable.
Now, Cust is saying things that are reasonable despite not actually thinking reasonably.
That stretch there put me right over the edge. That's hilarious.
I mean, that's true.
No, it's not.
Well, the fact that you don't think that, I suppose, makes a lot of sense. You couldn't be you by thinking that. But that's what everyone else thinks.
I'm making a pledge to the people. I'm not going to overreact with the Jets in this offseason and draft and schedule release. I'm going to be cautiously optimistic, but that's it.
So I'm the only one taking Kansas City here?
Yeah, I don't love the Bengals. I mean, I think they're going to win. I think they're the better team with the Mahomes injury. I thought they played very poorly against Jacksonville, but I guess I lean to the Bengals.
So your money line parlay is Philadelphia and Cincinnati?
Yeah, for basically plus 200 money.
Yeah, plus 198 is now that the Bengals have gone back down a little bit, is what it turns out to be. Okay, what are we doing next week for the show? Any ideas?
Pro Bowl breakdown.
Oh,
Eli's team, Peyton's team. Who do you like?
I thought that was just like a skills competition. Are they actually playing a game?
A flag football
it's like
game or
dodgeball. I think they're even doing like golf, like longest drive. Like they're just doing a bunch of gimmick games. I don't think they're actually playing football.
Yeah, that's what I thought as well.
But there's a flag football game.
Yeah,
Or maybe there's a flag football. Maybe there's like those old school like QB challenges.
oh, I like those. The
maybe.
ones that used to show on ESPN Classics.
I'll be
Yeah,
watching
yeah.
Pebble Beach, so I will not be watching that.
You'll be what?
I'll be watching the Pebble Beach tournament. I won't be watching football highlight show.
I like that Tim joins golf season during the year's worst tournament.
I love Pebble Beach. It's my favorite course on tour. It's the most gorgeous course on tour.
I'm not saying
I like
it's
to
not
watch.
a great course. It's a horrible viewing experience.
I know it is, but you know what? I like to see Bill Murray. I love Bill Murray. I like
It's not
actually no.
bad. Like in the concept of like people who like golf has this thing where people who like golf almost like watching anyone golf on TV, regardless of skill set. You throw in the background of Pebble Beach for people that like to bet or have lineups. It's an infuriating
Sure. It is.
broadcast.
It's not so much that we get the cutaway to Bill Murray or Larry the Cable Guy or Ray Romano, whoever it may be. It's when I get the Konica Minolta swing breakdown of Bill Murray. Like, let's pump the fucking brakes on that.
You're right.
But you know what? It's one tournament a year, and it's at golf's most beautiful venue.
And you know what?
So, like, whatever.
It has cost them anyone good going to that tournament.
I get it.
Why
Oh,
do you
isn't
why
Spieth gonna
why
play
do you
ne-
think
is
that
Spieth
is?
Gonna play next week?
What's that?
Isn't Spieth gonna play next week?
Yeah, he's sponsored by AT&T.
Yeah, it's okay. So someone good will play. I mean, yeah, it's unfortunate that happened, but whatever. I guess somebody had to be the loser between all those California stops in Phoenix, and I guess that was it. I still love Pebble Beach. I still watch it. It's still gorgeous.
Do you think golf guy would have predicted, Geoff, that the rowdy atmosphere in Phoenix would win out over traditional golf at Pebble Beach?
What do you mean by that?
I just
Pebble
feel
is like a long-term iconic U.S. Open and golf course
sure,
at like the most beautiful venue on earth. And
sure, and no one cares.
This
People
course
love
that was built
Phoenix.
6 days. Yeah, this course that was built 6 days ago in Scottsdale is like has supplanted it as like the biggest West Coast. You're right. Golf guy would never have predicted that would happen.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, I mean it's a marketing wonder in sort of putting on an event and doing it differently. They've created a monster, and as I think we even said on the golf show this week, that Phoenix event in terms of field and panache is almost like for all the thunder Pebble has lost in the last 8-10 years, Phoenix with every dip in Pebble like gains another point in its dominance in this part of the calendar.
It's a part of your Super Bowl pregame now.
I
What
agree.
do? We get together as a group and we watch the end of the tournament at Scottsdale before the Super Bowl.
And you curse poor Sahith Theegala.
Well, I did have Brooks Koepka the year that he won in our in one and done that year.
No, you didn't.
2 years ago, though, or 3 years ago now. I guess whatever year he won, I guess it would have
It
been.
was the day Brady
2021.
won with the Bucks.
You didn't.
Yeah.
You didn't have him then. The last time you hit a winner was Rory McIlroy at the Players Championship, which I believe was 2018.
No, I think I had Koepka there. Plus, I don't think that's right.
No, I'm right.
I had
2019. I had Geoff and I both had Koepka because we bet on him.
He pitched in.
Yes, he did
That
on
was
17.
the other one. Oh, you're right. He pitched in on both.
He pitched it on 17. Yeah.
I tried to make some DraftKings lineups for this week, but then gave up.
Why?
Football or golf?
I can't figure out who's playing which course, and anyway,
What do you?
whatever.
Does I mean
I
they
get
they both play each of the courses once.
Yeah, I know. I was like, whatever. I looked at it for a while. I quit on it.
Okay, please explain this to me. No, keep vamping on this. You didn't know which guys were playing what course. What does that matter?
Well, no, I heard you say that you only want to stack people who play the North Course. So I was only going to play guys who were playing the North Course.
That was for
on
showdown.
Thursday, get out to an early lead.
That was for showdown purposes. Were you playing DraftKings
that is
Showdown?
not. That is. I don't think so. I was just playing a regular tournament. I did not understand that.
Now, do you get it?
I mean, I took it as only take North Course players.
Yeah, in Showdown.
Right.
So were you just doing that thing where you don't really listen and just think you know what was said? Because you did that the other night when we were at the golf simulator too.
I don't remember.
When you kept bringing stats up to us that we had just previously told you 30 seconds ago?
I don't remember that.
You don't remember doing that?
No.
So you don't not only remember in the moment don't remember, you don't now after the fact still don't remember after it was brought to your attention.
To quote stats that were already quoted?
Yes, when we would say something happened and then you would just look at us stone-faced 30 seconds later and tell us the exact same fucking thing. Like giving us
Did that happen?
Yeah, it happened 3 times.
Really?
Yes.
Huh.
Do you have like
do you have
mini strokes and you just black out?
No.
And you think you can cross country ski?
Jeff does too, and I think Jeff could too.
Like around the
That's it. That's all I'm trying to say to it. Just like around the block sort of thing, not a marathon race or anything dumb like that. We're talking a little course. Yes, I could do that. You could do that. I think any able-bodied person could do that.
But I would be like I'd be dead. Like my quads would be dead. And just a quick little skiing thing because I was, supposed to be in Kansas City this past weekend. That didn't happen. So we went skiing and I'm still not skiing because of my knee. I'm not comfortable. But just like carrying a child and ski equipment. And I woke up the other day and my arm and my shoulder were so sore and I couldn't figure it out. And yeah, like being a ski dad, I don't know. Like it's just sore. That's all, I guess. Sorry.
No, I get it. We're getting old. Stuff hurts all the time.
Yeah. And because you don't do the Sunday night show anymore, I figured it could be worth asking. Does Tim have any first touchdown guys who can't score the first touchdown predictions for the big games?
First game is 49ers Eagles. No way Goddard scores first. And Bengals Chiefs. Higgins won't score first.
See, these seem really fake now.
You just asked me off the top of my head. I'm just giving you names.
Yeah, but I said who won't score, and then you're taking like really good players on the team.
They won't score first. They won't score
win
first.
The game.
They won't score first.
I'm sorry I asked. It seems like it was more fun in week 1. I apologize.
That's what I think.
Dude,
Both the guys I picked this week did end up scoring.
Yeah, every week, even if they don't score the first touchdown, they end up getting a touchdown.
Yeah, both Kirk and Devonta Smith ended up scoring touchdowns, even though they didn't get the first touchdown Saturday.
So did we figure out what we're doing for next week?
I don't know what we're going to talk about. I wish we could have a group session with the other show.
You want to have an orgy with Cam?
No, but like we did on Thanksgiving, right? We had a group show.
See, that's tougher to do during the course of the week. Cam is a very hard man to nail down.
Oh, I don't doubt it.
And I think that would be if we do that, we probably do that Super Bowl week.
I liked the idea you talked about on the Best Bet show last week of us coming up with the pricing for Super Bowl foods.
Yeah, do you want to do that, Jeff? We'll come up with the Super Bowl menu, and then on the Best Bet show, me, Rob, and Cam can go through and give you our 3 gold picks for Super Bowl food.
I can do it. As like we've gotten older, my friends and their like Super Bowl food tastes are getting like fancier.
Ooh.
They want to do like more exotic catering and things, and I'm just more of a wings and pizza guy. But whatever the group wants,
I'm the same way as you, Jeff. I don't need anything too fancy for Super Bowl Sunday.
Yeah, I
And
think.
when I say fancy, like I probably like that's the wrong word.
Like,
Just
I think-
fancier than wings.
Stop!
and
Stop!
pizza.
Stop giving it the content for next week's show.
Last year, did we do barbecue last year?
Yes.
Or did
Can
we
we save?
do-
Can we save it for next week's show?
Or
we
wings?
don't
I
have a
couldn't
ton,
remember
we
what
don't
we
have a
did.
ton of content for next week.
Well, we could break down the games. Perhaps if the Chiefs lose, Geoff will laugh for 25 minutes about
No.
the.
We're not on the same level. I really do hope the Chiefs lose, but you putting me on your like peak Patriots hatred, I'm not there. Like I'm not there. I still enjoy Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. They're a very likable team, despite lots of Chiefs fatigue. I am not close to where you were. Now, if they win the Super Bowl, I will not be happy though. Like, so I don't know. Maybe I'm
No, you
talking
don't want to
out
be.
of
You don't want to be in the opener next year.
I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth on this topic, so I'm just incriminating myself. I'm going to shut up. Go Bengals.
Well, we'll see you next week on the Pat Mayo Experience. Nominated for awards, by the way, despite on the show having Tim Undercust.
Tim and August.
That's not my name. The show was nominated for awards.
Yeah, Pat Mayo ended up with 3 more fantasy award nominations, making me the most nominated person in the history of the award. So there we are.
There it is.
Hooray! Soccer clap.
Soccer clap.
Congratulations.
Soccer clap.
No, like Tom Cruise snub here.
You people, you are the stars.
Mm-hmm. I stopped entering that one where you can get paid for nominations. I mean, this one was actually like judging.
Imagine if you could
Hey.
like pay to have like an Academy Awards nomination.
That'd be good. I mean,
My
that's
buddy is like,
Go ahead.
my buddy's in the event planning, coordinating business, and they have these award shows, and he wins these awards like dinner, and he wins, and he just acknowledges like it's just his dad like bought a table at the ceremony. Therefore, like you pretty much are gonna win it.
Rate and review the award nominated Pat Mayo Experience. Although we've won in this category before for best podcast, recommend that you just leave a rating and review. You can't vote on it, so leave the rating and review. And the 20 seconds that you would spend voting for the Pat Mayo Experience, you can vote in the Custies as well. That we do need your vote for. You can pass off the review if you go vote in the Custies right now. All right, everything is down in the description. For Paul, the Coin, Geoff, and Tim, I'm Pat Mayo. Smash the like. I'll see you next time.
Mayo Experience! Experience!